Oh yeah, baby. We're out here. we're streaming, fellas. We're just waiting for a couple of people to join the chat, and I'm just going to be spamming the link to this stream in the DM Discord and some of the DM pages. But welcome to the video and or stream, depending on where you're watching this from, whether you're right here in the present with me or watching it in the future. Welcome, it's your boy LOZA. This is a Dark Magician orientated stream, and we will be playing a whole lot of Dark Magician on the channel. So if you're really into Dark Magician, go ahead and hit that subscribe. I'm going to be playing this deck for a long time. Sorry about that ad. That was not meant to play. I'm just grabbing my own stream link. But yeah. Master Duel just had a bunch of cards released, so we're going to take a look at them, see if there's anything DM can abuse. Spoiler, there's not, but we'll have a cry together about the cards that are there, because there's some stuff that's going to hinder Dark Magician. Oops, that's my uni stuff. Don't look at that. Oh, you won't be able to see it. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I'm quite keen. I'm quite keen to test out DM in the format in which these new cards exist. Because in TCG I played and I did not enjoy. Magician Souls does not resolve. And that's very annoying. Why can't I post this? That's weird. But anyway, I think it's about time we begin the stream properly. So let's do it. Let's bring down the walls. Hello and welcome. It's your boy LOZA. I haven't checked the chat yet, so I don't know who's here. I'm just spamming this link in places, but it's not really working. Well, that's okay. I think we've spammed it enough, and we'll just get on with the stream at this point. I'm going to close my Discord real quick because I don't want to get pinged in there and whatnot. But we chilling. We was Venom. Hello. How you doing? Ray plays games. What's going on? Why are you saying uh-oh? What's going on? I'm scared. You guys are scaring me. I'm worried. I'm worried, fam. Tier 0. Yeah, okay. You know. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Tearlaments cards have now been released. Yes. The Tearlaments cards. The problem with these cards... Oh, and... oh, that's the Tearlaments card. Do we have the Kashtira cards yet? The OP field spells and stuff? I don't think so. But anyway, the Tearlaments cards are here, and they're a problem. They're a problem because they like to mill. Kikalis is at 1, but that doesn't really change anything. I think we're going to struggle in this format, because the Tearlaments cards mill your deck. Can be good. They mill DMG or DM, can be good. Apart from that, it's not very good at all. New dual field. There's Medolce dual field. Cool. I don't think we care about that too much. Nothing here we care about too much. Oh, that Melfi face is really cute though. We like Melfis. They're cool. Nothing we really give a shit about here. Let's go ahead and... Surely Dragoon will be unbanned? Yo. I appreciate the cope. We're starting out in gold this season. Is it a new season? Yes, it is. It's season 16. Well, there you go. Season 16. We've got 7 viewers in the chat. You love to see it. Let's see how many game wins we can get today. Yeah, if they have the shufflers, we cry. I wonder if Spright will even see play anymore. Did they unban Super Poly? Super Poly's a 3? It's a 3! Oh shit. Well, I think it's better to play 3 Super Poly than it is to play 3 evenly. Just gonna put that out there. I might do it like this, but it could be wrong. We'll see how it goes anyway. Gonna hit that save. We don't have Quintet, do we? We don't really have the room. Oh well, let's just queue up, see what we verse. Didn't you tag DM profile? Don't tag the goo. What do you mean it's chased by tag? Like as in you're gonna do a tag duel and you wanna play DM? Yo, what's up, Go Kick Rocks? This game has never felt worse to play? Oh god. So it's just like in TCG when Tearlaments released? Or like, we're still gonna try and hit Diamond and all that fun stuff, but yeah. I don't know how we're gonna go. Wow, very good opening hand, but unfortunately playing second. That's okay. Oh, you didn't mean to put tag? That's all good. Send top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. Well, that's okay. It's not our deck yet. And they've sent Maxi, Kelbeck. Kelbeck is going to mill another 5. Is that correct? Yes, it sure is. But that's both players. And he's going to add a Tearlaments trap from deck to hand. Alright. Well, this is bad. Maybe there's something we can play that helps us deal with this. Let's work it out together. Yeah, even in Gold 5. Straight away Ray plays games. Straight into the Tearlaments. Meta Noise. This card's called Meta Noise. You hate to see it. Lucky we got the Max C though. That's going to help a little bit. Maybe we can find like a really nice, we can find a really nice Super Poly target for this deck. I haven't looked. Yeah, the Tearlaments monsters are all commons and Rod's even rare. What's this chain link? Yeah, you can fuse. Yep, so there's the fusion summon coming out. They all pretty much fuse. Can we just acknowledge that they all fuse like as an effect when they're milled and like DM still can't fuse in an easy way, and this deck fuses in an easy way. It's really annoying. Cards like Soul Drain, yeah, they can just make Zeus. Exactly. So this deck's a massive problem for us. And when Tearlaments was meta in TCG, I can safely tell you, I had the worst time of my life. Magician Souls cannot run. It's really bad. The current stream bitrate is this. It's lower than the recommended. We recommend you stream at this. I don't know how I change that. How do I change that? I don't know. Warning, the stream's health is excellent, but now its bitrate is too low. Maybe I can change that in OBS. I don't know how to change that, I'm not gonna lie, guys. I don't know if I'd have to stop the stream and start it again though. Not really sure, TBH. Full stream? No, that's just that. I'm not sure, but how's the stream for everyone? Aldo says, do you think Dragoon Turbo has a chance against Ishizu tier on Master if it was legal? I have to say, the deck has a very hard time outing Dragoon if you have one boost on it, like the 4K boost. And, like, they have to Ash the ref. One of their boss monsters can negate a spell that's special summoned. What? Okay. I'm guessing he misplayed, because we didn't do anything. We got cross-out designated. But we take those. You know, we take those. My lord, I'm not sure how that happened at all. Like, I'm not complaining, but I am wondering how that happened. But you know what? You know what, chat? We take the W. We take the fat W. It's pretty big. It's pretty big. Let's queue up again. The win con was the friends we made along the way. It was all you guys. All you guys in the chat. Love to see it. Love to see it. Oh, I should close that. Pardon me. Don't want no emails here in the chat. Okay, we're playing second again. The hand is pretty good, but not for second. Unless we draw like super play. Oh, they have the Rika sleeves. You gonna play Yu-Gi-Oh! Mega this stream? I don't know. I don't know, Devil. It's oh, they passed. What? What? Our hand's really good. They must have all hand traps. Well, hopefully Callby gets the job done. So what's good here is Illusion of Chaos can get anything, and are we playing Tamias? No, we're not even playing Tamias. I don't even know what we want then. Ooh. Can we do some shenanigans with this? We can. I'm gonna grab the DM. I'm gonna grab the DM. We're gonna put on top of the deck, DM. We kind of need to chain the Soul 7 to get the Eternal Soul. If I want to do the Secrets play, but then we do have to put a random card here on top of the deck. Ah, screw it. See Illusion of Chaos. Alright, let's go for... I was going to grab whatever I stacked with Circle, but I think this is better value. Hey Zephy14, how you doing? How am I countering Tear Soul Drain? I'm not yet, to be honest. I'm just playing. Playing and see how I go, and then I'll think of some solutions. Right now, Super Poly is all I'm really running. Which gets the job done to some degree. Why did I want Secrets? I could just make Anaconda. Oh well. We're fusing, apparently. Dark Magicians. Oh, we can do both. I think we can do both. We can do both, I'm pretty sure, if we stack Eternal Soul here. What would you put in DM? It's Skill Drain at 1. I mean, this list doesn't even play Skill Drain, so... I'm playing, like, random package shit, so it's kind of chill. Alright, here's what we do, chat. Here's what we do. Let's go Soul 7, right? And we put Eternal Soul on top of the deck. This is big. This is really big. We can end on some cracked shit. Super Poly at 3, yes. I'm playing Super Poly at 3. I'm not sure what's the best target yet. Probably just Starving Venom and some other shit. Anyway, check this shit out. Go Eternal Soul. We're going to bring out DM. Oh shit, I don't think I'm playing Imdok or Link Spider. No, I can't make Anaconda. I'm not playing Imdok or Link Spider. Are you joking? I'm going to cut one of these branded cards. We could have made Anaconda here if I had Imdok or Link Spider. Hey Blap, what's happening? I'm glad you're in the chat. This is actually so depressing. We had such a good game plan. And it's just thrown out the window. That's annoying. Oh well. Oh well, we're gonna have to put Link Spider back in this deck. We didn't have room originally, but you know what? I think we cut some of the branded fusion stuff down. My god. I want that branded fusion, so I'm gonna get it. I guess it's fine. We got to the branded fusion anyway. This was not what I intended to do. I meant to make Anaconda out of these two, but I'm not playing the Link Spider or the Imdok, for those who are wondering what the hell I'm doing. Let's go branded fusion. Because we're just that good. I think we still go into Lubellion, because we have 3 discards. So we're going to fuse with an Albaz, and then something from the deck. It's probably just a Rod. That's fine. Summon this in defense mode. If we get Super Polyed or Even Lead here, it's really bad. That might be the play. I keep forgetting I can go to battle phase here. Did I miss lethal? I keep thinking I'm playing first, but they passed. If I miss lethal, oh, I totally did. I could have just Master of Chaos. I don't know why. I thought I was playing first. Oh, we actually make Dragonmaid here. Yeah, this is big. We actually make Dragonmaid here. I think we missed lethal though. Yeah, yikes. Boop, boop, boop. Maybe not. Oh, we can't fuse anymore. Oh, we definitely missed lethal. Whoops. I kind of thought there'd be a hand trap at some point in the combo. Or, I don't know. Oh, we didn't miss lethal. What? I can't do standard math. Chat, never listen to anything I say ever again. I can't do standard math. Alright, well, like, I'm not complaining. We've got 2 wins. We just built diff. Summon limit's cool, but like, what does it do going second, you know? What does it do going second? It's absolute dog shit going second. And like, you'll see, I haven't won a coin toss yet. Kaiser Coliseum, same problem with summon limit. Yes, very good going first. Going second, not great. Plus, if they just like Regeki your board, it turns Kaiser Coliseum off. Not to say that they'll be playing Regeki, but you get what I mean. Like, yeah, so far we're 2-0, but like, that's very lucky. And, yeah. Oh, I forgot to put Link Spider or Imdok in the list. Someone remind me. Man said 1350, goddamn 47. I don't know what you're referring to, Blap, but hey. Being chilling. Oh, Branded Fusion in the opener plus Terraforming. Imperm Ogre and Effect Veiler might be a good idea. I like Ogre and Effect Veiler. Ogre means we can play E-Telly and like Flirt. I kind of am down for that. Bit of a weird hand. Not a lot of DM stuff going on in this hand. Let's play Terraforming, see if he's got Ash. He doesn't have Ash, so we can go for a chicken game here. I don't mind that. Yeah, we'll go for the chicken game. See what this chicken game draws. If it draws like Magician Souls, it's massive. But we just don't know. We just don't know. Super Poly is... Oh, we drew Magician Souls. I'm just cracked at the game, you know? Alright, we get to draw some more. Plus, we get to mill DM. Put the LOZA DM in the bin. Because I'm trash. Got him. The Wolf of the North. Hello. Good to see you again in the chat, my guy. Yeah, we drew the card I said we should draw. You know, heart of the cards moment. Oh, hey, John. What's up? Drawing one. What are we going to hit here? Rod? Oh, that would have been good. That would have been too good. Do we make Anaconda and keep the Branded Fusion in the hand? If we play the Branded Fusion, we go Lubellion into Mirror Jade. But it's the same outcome, but there's a discard. I think it's better that we do it like this. Probably. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think he has a hand trap for Effect Band. Or Ashwood. I don't think he has anything in that regard. Well, we're just passing on Mirror Jade, unfortunately. But, oh well. It is what it is. Probably the one in the deck, not my hand. Big Mirror Jade hours. Like, I got Eternal Soul, but it doesn't really work. DPE, sit on Max C. DPE good? DPE good? But we're not playing that build right now, we're playing the other one. And we can summon DM on the op turn, but it doesn't do anything, but it means we can extend plays next turn. But I'm not playing Link Spider or Imdok once again, but we do have the Branded Fusion in hand. Someone, chat, remind me I need to put Link Spider and Imdok in the damn deck. I don't know why it's not in there. I'm capping on main. I'm capping on main. Is Terra Master Duel? It sure is. Oh, we're versing Blue Eyes. Oh, I'm pretty sure I just straight up banished this. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Who gives a shit? Get rid of this stupid ass. Get out of here. If he has alternative, I'm gonna wish I max seed there though. But I feel like he's going to. It is hard to fit links with Branded Engine in Black, you're right. I think I should have max seed there maybe because. Oh no, there you go. It's fine. I could have max seed there if I thought he was gonna make Link Karibo and some of that junk, but man's playing Brick Eyes White Dragon and man's bricked. Crazy that. We kind of bricked too, but we had enough for Anaconda. So chill. Albaz will be really good here because it means, we'll just grab another Branded Fusion here. Albaz means we can normal it and just fuse his board away. Or set it and fuse his board away, but, you know, he didn't even get to summon, so F in the chat. What could the set card be? Yeah, I can show deck list selfie, but, Zephy, sorry. But it's, alright, with 3 It's literally the last list I had on my channel, the branded, like, when you go to my channel, it is the pinned video. That is the list I'm playing. I think I just changed Super Poly to 3, because it's 3 now, and Evenly to 2. Because, arguably, Super Poly is better, because you can use it when you have a board. Here's the list right now, but we're gonna edit it. You've been using DPE, Andrew? With brand, what? That's a lot of bricks, you're brave. That's true, you can search the DPE fusion spell though. But that is, I don't know if I'm brave enough to put the 2 together. Yo, for real, why Konami give us this crap? Bruh. Oh yeah, and this one, where it's like the Harpulated Sisters. Bruh. Cringe. Cringe. Tia drained all my energy in TCG as well, the Wolf in the North, don't worry. I agree. Thank you. I'm going to put Link Spider in. Actually, I'm going to do Imdok. So what do we cut here? This was a Super Poly target only for Spright. I don't think it's ever going to come up. I think we cut it. I think we're good like that. I think we're good to go. If it comes up now, I'll scream. Should be fine though. Should be fine though, right? Should probably gives tier plus. Oh, it does because yeah, they summon back their guy, don't they? Spright dropped off the map. That's good. I just took out their super poly target. I just hope to not verse Spright ever again, huh? That deck was the cringiest stuff to verse. It just felt like every card was gas, and against a deck like DM where not every card is gas, it felt really good. Okay, interesting opener. It's tier 0 and the counters like Flu and Exosister. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to play either of those decks though. And Flu seems really bad now. Like they just put map to 1 and they have no barrier statue. Oh, we're versing Spright. We just took out the Spright super poly target. We have super poly and we're versing Spright. Can you believe it, chat? 40 viewers. Shoutouts to the 40 gamers in the chat. Dream Maxi of Maxi. Bro. At least the hand's pretty good, I would say. They're thinking about whether they extend now. They're like, Maxi. Yeah, okay, they're passing. We can't super poly that board. Not that we need to, but putting that out there. Okay. Well, we basically have Circle, Eternal Soul, and Brand Fusion, so we're going to want to summon the Dragon Knight. This game is a meme. We're going to want to summon the Dragon Knight, though, here. Unfortunately, I can't get Circle till after I summon the Dark Magician. But when I summon the Dragon Knight, it will trigger the Circle. So what we're going to do here is summon the Magician Souls first off to kind of scout out what's going on here. I'm going to bring out the DM as well, because I just want the attack power. Nothing I really want to send in my hand. Could have sent the Super Poly for a draw, but I think it's better to just summon the DM here. I'd love to make Relinquish Anima, but then I'm turning off the Brand of Fusion in my hand, and I don't want to do that. Though I could just go to Anaconda after, but I don't have a way there, so I think this is the correct way to do it. So now we can Soul Servant and go get Circle. Oh, it's better we get Rod. But then we're playing into Impermanent Veiler. Are you joking? People just don't read, huh? My man's just Ghost Belled an effect that stacks. My man's just went neg 2. My man's just went neg 2. Alright, I'm not going to take that draw because it's a random draw and I'd rather thin the deck first and then I'll take the draw after that. So we're going to try and summon Lubellion. We've got to use Fallen and we're probably just going to use that second DM. Kind of turning off Magician Souls. Oh no, it's not because we have Illusion of Chaos now. So, alright. Lubellion, we've got to pitch a card. I think it's got to be the Super Poly, unfortunately. Could be the Maxi. I think Maxi is just infinite value here. Hey Rojas, how you doing? Brian, I lose to Evil Twin Spright as well. Oh, he's got the Droplet. Man, I wish I kept the Super Poly, huh? Man, I wish I kept Super Poly. I could chain it and fuse this with Mud Dragon, I think. Wow, that was unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Let's see what this draw is. Called by. Okay. Not amazing, but that's okay. Actually, he's got like no cards left. Well, he's gonna have 3. He gets to make me pay 500. Like, no one gives a shit. That's fine. Alright, we get a bit of damage in there. We go main phase 2. This thing can't attack anyway, so it's fine in defense mode. We set the Eternal Soul. We can summon out the other DM. We set the Call by. Got the Max C. We'll see how we go. We can't link. Till next time. 3 jobs already. Yeah, we are 3-0 currently. We're in gold though, so that's why. This game is a meme. Go kick rocks. That is very true. Ah, Spright red. Reprint activates monster effect. You contribute another blah 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 blah. Well, this doesn't link into anything, right? But I think we just drop the Maxi now. It seems really bad and casual, but I think they're inherent summons. I can't remember, so I'm just going to change. Beautiful. Beautiful. They're inherited summons. This adds a Spright spell trap. Okay. Nothing I can do about that because these only got the kill cards. Starter. Okay, Starter's gonna go and get Carrot, I think. I think he's gonna want Carrot at this point. Okay, he's gonna make Gigantic. Gonna give us another draw. Gigantic. Specials one from deck. And then we're locked on to level 2s. Light Hex Sealed, so you can go into Albion when you don't want to discard. I don't really care about it. It's another brick in like DM. Like you don't want to draw the Light Hex Sealed ever. Like yeah, you can normal it or set it, but like it's terrible. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I think we got enough bricks in DM. And if I want to go into Albion, like they'll be away. That's how I look at it. Oh, he's summoning Eldlich. Disgusting. So he's gonna try to give me the Eldlich. It's really gross that they can play this too for level 2. Alright, linking them off into Spright Elf. Elf is going to target something to try and bring it back here. He's going to try summon to my field, and then what does it say? You cannot special except links. So let's go ahead and flip that Eternal Soul right now. Like, I don't think we should out the Eldlich. I think it's fine. We drew evenly matched. So I don't want to board out. This is what we want. So he's going to try to extend here. He hasn't used Starter yet though, has he? That's the problem. I need to Starter real quick. Special Spright from deck, but lose LP equal to its attack. That's a problem, isn't it? He's going to another elf. That's okay. So he's targeting the red. We're just going to go Call By on the red here, and that should just fix a lot of our issues, I think. Yep. Alright, that's 4 victories for DM. Just outplaying the opponents. Keck. We're getting pretty lucky, I'm not gonna lie. It is gold. So yeah, typically not the best players in gold. Thinking about if I do want to change the list up at all. I'm kind of happy with it so far. Well, let's keep going. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? We put the Link Spider, we put the Imdock in. I think that's the best thing we can do. Hey Karen, how you doing? Good to see you in the chat. Another die roll win. Nice. I've seen the Prime Sync Stone stuff. It's just a Joby-like thing. It's not good. Don't play it, guys. Play the one skill drain and just play other floodgates. It's not worth playing Stone Sync Stone. Or whatever, Power Sync Stone. It just looks like a DM card, and I think that's why it's being brought to people's attention. Wow, these openers have been great. I don't believe it, to be honest. Incredible. Well, let's scope out the hand trap situation. Go normal rod. Chad DarkMagician. Spright player thinking. Spright players don't do that. That's very true. Prime Sync Stone, yeah. Ooh, Effect Veiler. That means we can Anaconda though. Yeah, I got the streamer luck, legit. I remember my last stream, or my one before that, it was negative streamer luck. It was not great. I almost just want to keep the Magician Salvation out. Oh man, I really do. But I don't think we do. We are going to send the Salvation for some draws though, because we're not playing DMG. I'm going to be chugging that water, by the way, so... You know, got to stay hydrated and whatnot. And when I talk a lot on stream, I get really dry and sore throat. Man opens insane every game in gold. But we put that in brackets at the end of the video, so no one knows, you know. No one got to know that. What's this draw going to be, though? Is it cracked or what? That's pretty damn good, considering we're about to make Anaconda. Man, but then the village gets turned off. I guess we get Eternal Soul. We just Eternal Soul start of their turn. We don't have Circle. So we just Eternal Soul DM start of their turn. Is this a Sky Striker play? If it's a Sky Striker play, the game is over. The game will be over if it is. So let's hope so. I'd like to see an April DM deck testing against YCS, recent champion decks. Yeah, that's a great idea for a vid, actually. Because, man, it would be a very quick game. Be us getting stomped, but still, it'd be good to watch. Good to, like, see how far behind DM is from the meta and like see what we can actually do to kind of win, like the cheese we can do to win. Probably just part of me relating to Dragoon and whatnot. Let's go and set called by. Switches to on, activate village. There's nothing in here, I don't think. Nope. We're gonna pass. We've got a lot to interrupt the opponent actually. So in their draw phase, a lot of decks can't handle village DM and mirror. Yeah, that's true. Draw phase. Yep. Eternal Soul. Oh, this is pretty good, but if they do have like Cosmic Cyclone, MST, anything similar, they can chain it here and it's really bad, but that's okay. They seem to not have it. Now their spells are turned off. We've got Call by the Grave and we've got a Banish. Man, I want to use Rod Effect, but we can't. We can't use Rod Effect here. I'm going to set my response back to auto. I'm going to see if we're versing a Sky Striker player, huh? Oh, I agree, Kaiser DX. Oh, it is Dragonmaid. The field spell that DM has is absolute garbage compared to Tearlaments. I read modern field spells and I'm like, couldn't the DM field spell do half of this? You can add a Dragonmaid monster from deck to hand and send one from hand to grave. That seems pretty bad. Go for it, Chief. Kitchen is the good normal summon though, right? Oh no, the Kitchen's a good normal summon, but I think the best one's still the one that gets the trap. Dragoon should probably be in Master Duel, but I know they're scared of... There you go, guys. There you go. We're at 5 victories. You love to see it. You do love to see it. Let's just queue back up again. Dragonmaid player. Hey, there's a guy at my locals, Nolan TCG. You've probably seen my deck profiles on there if you've been a long time watcher of LOZA. Great guy, and he actually uploads... Where was I going with this? He plays Dragonmaid. He's a fantastic Dragonmaid player. So yeah, he's definitely platinum. When I've had Dragoon out and stuff, I'm like, the Dragonmaid cards, the Dragonmaid boss monster being 3/5 is really annoying. Super strong. This hand's a little sauce, but we are going first. We don't have a way to DM. We do. We do have a way to DM. It's not the way I want to get there, and it means we have no Eternal Soul. But let's see if we get hand traps first. Nope. Okay, so we can add Circle here. Circle, Chain, Soul Servant. So I'd want to go Circle, Chain, Soul Servant to get Eternal Soul, right? But there's no DM, so I'm going to have to go Circle, Chain, Soul Servant to put DM on top, activate Secrets, Soul Servant to draw, and just pray. Because unfortunately we don't have anything. So I'm unironically stacking Circle. Oh, it's the Golden Lord. Yo, what's happening, King? I always miss Eldlich the Golden Lord. The fact that, like, oh wow, super poly and evenly. The fact that, you know, I have 2 of the DM cards that you want in your hand. I still don't have the full DM, like, triangle lock is ridiculous, right? It's fine to do the 1 on 4. Absolutely fine. Unless we draw village. But we know the top of our deck is super poly, so it's kind of fine. Alright, we will draw both the evenly and the super poly. Unfortunately, I don't want the evenly just yet, but if we get board wiped, then it's great. We can activate the evenly this turn, guys. Do I want to set it? No, we could. Set the super poly. It's not the greatest turn 1, but it's all we got. Draw 1 more with DarkMagicians. Yeah, but we knew the draw, so it was like, yeah, not great. DM deck roasting on Master Duel, then you copy the list and try and win. I like that, Blap. That's really good. Oh my god, it's fucking this shit. I need to stop swearing, but it's hard. Dino Fossil, man. Did we draw another? Oh, we drew Called By. That's good. Set that shit. Necro Valley Gaming. So what's the game plan here? Oh, I guess he's got Mirror Force and whatnot. We can't pop off with the effect either. This is gonna be so grim, I can tell. At least I can use this effect to go and get DM. Oh, I can't use the grave because of Necro Valley. Where's Dark Magic Attack when you need it? God damn it. Salvation though. Maybe we'll wipe our own board and evenly match though. We've got too much set at this point. Way too much set. Blue's using Fossil Diner? Oh. Well, that's scary. Oh, Dark Bribe. Okay, I don't think that's the card you want, Dark Bribe, but that's fine. That's pretty funny. Draw Terraforming. Draw again. Draw Chicken Game. My lord. Chimkin game. I probably should have thinned with Terraforming first, but oh well. I definitely should have thinned with Terraforming first. Punished. Punished. Why is my phone going off? No, 1 sec, I'm getting called. I'm back. Sorry, I completely forgot that Necro Valley would prevent me from using Magician Soul, and I thought by outing the Dino, I was like, I can summon again, which is true, but I cannot summon from the grave again. Jargon is fine. I'm just scared of that back card. The money is calling. Just go Illusion of Chaos. And we'll just keep grabbing Rod, I guess. Keep summoning Rod. Go away, evenly matched. At least he can't use spells. Oh, you can right now, actually. That's a lie. Grab that Eternal Soul, yeah. I already have it. What am I doing? I don't even know. I don't even know no more. Having Apprentice here would be nice, actually. Looks like he kind of has nothing. Let's look at his deck after. It's really weird. Oh, we can Super Poly in Battle Phase to win? Yeah, let's Super Poly in Battle Phase to win, huh? Game over, chef. This is the part where he like flips Mirror Force and we lose. Oh, this could be a spell and now we've turned it on because Village is no longer running. Let's find out. Oh shit, it is. Oh! Nope, he's got nothing. Mr. Fancy! I am live streaming. Hello, welcome to the stream. We casually just 6-0 so far. But you know, that's all gonna change in these next few games. Super Poly good. You see LOZA vid, you click like, thank you. That is king shit right there. I need more people like Mr. Fancy in my life, you know? Venom Flex? Yeah, I mean, ending the game early is always good. I forgot to look at their deck. That seemed like a jank deck though, we'll go check it out. Man's got Galaxy Eyes sleeves and Thunder Dragon Icon. It might be a Dragon Link enjoyer. 71 gamers in the chat, let's go. Ooh! Not a bad hand. It's got Super Poly for second. Nice. And if it's dealing, Super Poly will be amazing. So, hell yeah. Pardon me. Albaz and Dragon Monster. So I can even, if this is a Dragon deck, I can set the Albaz and just fuse the board away with this. I still haven't done that. I would love to do it right now. Let's see what they do. We're just gonna have a chill chat with the chat right now, because you know the opponent ain't gaming, and we've been chilling. Crystal Beast and Flu are gonna be up there, running anti-graveyard stuff. Yo, yeah, it's pretty valid. I really like Crystal Beast, so is the Zenith Crystal Beast out? Because I would actually play that deck. Min took 40 seconds to go to standby main. Rough. Oh, it's Marju. It's Grand Marju. Or is it like Danger FTK? Mobile players. Yeah, I swear, whenever you see this icon, it's like a mobile player, I swear. Freaking mobile players, am I right? Oh, I should be wearing my glasses. I don't want to get a headache. Okay. Kinda need a bit of a clean though. Man took that long to pick to summon Thunderbird. What, you got all three in your hand? Was it a hard decision? This is the problem with Master Duel. They should just like, he should be banned. It's like you've taken 5 minutes to summon Thunderbird. Like IRL, that would be how long? That'd be a 5-second interaction. I'd be like, reveal Thunderbird effect. My opponent would be like, cool. I'd do it. And we'd be playing. This man's taking 2 minutes of my time to summon Thunderbird and then resolve Tsuchinoko. I don't know how to say it. Oh no, he's playing pure danger. Your opponent can target danger monsters with card effects. I can still super poly them. Target a danger you control. You can attack directly. You're going first. Also, stop prevent your opponent from attacking you directly. Wait, what? What? That's weird. What are we doing now, Nessie? No, Dogman discard Nessie. 60 card grass? No, I think this man is playing pure danger. It's not even 60. He's playing like 48 cards. What's up, Haven Yu-Gi-Oh? We're going to look at both the past deck lists because these players are wilding. Nessie effect. How is this taking so long? Oh my god. I'd say it's the OTK, but I know it's not. They're playing the field spell. Anyone who plays the danger field spell is trolling. It's like playing the DM field spell. No, the DM field spell is valid at 1 at least. This is valid at none. 0. The only danger spell you can play is, I think it's like Danger Research or something. Danger Research? I can't remember. Oh, fuck, Yu-Gi-Oh! Response Team, this one. This is the only danger card you should play, and it's still bad. You target a danger monster you control on one on the field, return them to the hand. Then if this is in the grave, you can discard a danger, place this on bottom, then draw one. It's the only one you'd play, and you'd play it at 1, and that's it. I used to play in August Grand Marju Danger. It was amazing. I played that at the YCS where August was legal. What a good YCS. I absolutely loved it. I'm a big Grand Marju enjoyer, so the August engine meant like you could go first with Grand Marju. It was super nice. He's playing the equip spell, bro. It gains 800. It can't be destroyed by card effect. It can make 2 attacks. You're playing first, my brother. Agus, 249th. Bruh. Konami be like, netcode is fine for mobile. Yeah, true. Ghost Blasted, my name is the singular for almonds in Arabic. My name is Nuts. These nuts? That's amazing. I love that. Oh, did he choop and whiff? No, he Ogo Pogoed and he chooped. So choop will summon one from grave. And also, yeah, he can make a rank 8. Holy shit, he could make Harbinger. And then I can super poly and it won't matter. I can't believe we're versing pure danger. Is it kind of weird because if someone is cute, we call them LOZA? No way! Y'all call each other nut for cute? Damn, it's got a different meaning over here in Australia, but huh. Yo, We all LOZers in this chat in that case. We all nuts. I mean, we're all cute, right? Right? Hey, you can be a nut and cute. You can nut and be cute, right? I don't know. Oh, thanks, Wolf of the North. Y'all are the cute ones, though. So what, he can make a rank 7 here, and he can make a rank 8. So what are the best outcomes here? I don't know what this guy's timer must be at, like, -40. What's the best rank 7? Flare Metal? I don't even know. Flare Metal? Diablos? Diablos isn't even that good. Unless you're playing cash. So, I think the best thing he's got here is, like, Flare Metal. What's the rank 8? Harbinger. Okay. And it's... Oh, it's the Keytar Warrior. I need to learn my Keytar. I have a Keytar. I just haven't learned it very well. Cannot be destroyed by your opponent's activated effects of the same attribute. Quick effect, target monster opponent's graveyard. Detach material if you do attach to this target. It's treated as... This card's a tribute, so it's dark. It's always dark as well. This card's attribute is also treated as its material. So I can super poly it, basically. All that's important is I can super poly it. Wait, Jackalope now? Jackalope, discard Jackalope. Jackalope to summon from deck. What are you going to summon? Another level 3? Another Ogopogo. So you're going to keep... Oh, because you're keeping the Thunderbird. Why no Tamias the United Dragon? In this build, we don't really care about Tamias. And he's kind of just a brick. Like, Tamias is really bad. It should be a lot better. I compare it a lot to Blazing Cartesia. Not Blazing Cartesia. No, Blazing Cartesia. It should be on that level of playable, but it's just not. If you're playing pure DM, obviously one Tamias is fine. But because Dragoon's not in the game, like Tamias 90% of the time is just trying to make Dragonite. And Dragonite's not that viable in Master Duel. And I can make it through Branded Fusion, so I can make it through Anaconda. Any 2 monsters makes me Dragonite. Oh, that's a lie. Any 2 monsters makes me, what's it called? Mirror Jade. And then next turn Mirror Jade gets me a Branded Fusion, which gets me Dragonite next turn, which sounds complicated, but it's just more efficient. Yeah, Tamias is not great. Not great. It should have said something similar to Blazing Cartesia, where it's like, if you have a DM card in your field or grave, like you can summon this for free. And then, at the end of your turn, if this was used for a fusion summon, add it back to hand. That would be great. Hope Harbinger, we called that. We at least called one of the ranks. And let's be real, the rank 7 he made is not the correct target. I think we can Mud Dragon out of these 2, which is probably worth it. Or I can Starving and rip this. Starving, this is always dark, so I think I just fuse these 2 away. Oh, but then Harbinger's up. So I need to fuse these 2, and then what? How do I deal with this? Wait, anything dragon? 1 dragon. So Super Poly these 2, and then normal summon Albaz fuse. Oh wait, does this negate the spell? So maybe I normal the Albaz first. Normal Albaz first. Green Dick Anaconda. Still live in Master Duel. That's right. That's right. While Anaconda is live, there's no... I'm sorry, chat. We just sat through half an hour of play for them to get timed out. Connection failure. But you know what? We take the win, and I'm pretty sure we had devised a way to win anyway, so it's not like we were losing. But man, was that annoying. We just sat there for no reason. You called it? Yeah. Mr. Fancy knows what's up. The timeout victory round. 72 viewers. Love to see it. Can we hit 100? We only hit 100 every stream. Tamias as a quick effect. Oh yeah, why isn't it a quick effect? So many things are wrong with Tamias. Imagine if it was level 7. Imagine if it was dark. I know Tamias is light and like that's his whole thing. Like he's a legendary dragon, but like it could have been like corrupt Tamias. It could have just been like magical Tamias. It could have been like Dark Magician Steed Tamias. I don't know. They could have played with the concept a little more. They could have just called it what Eye of Tamias is. Eye of Tamias is like this card always identifies as Legendary Dragon Tamias. They could have called it Legendary Dragon Tamias. And then we could have a card that searches Legendary Dragon Tamias and could search Eye or Monster Timmy. But even in Monster Timmy, like searched Eye of Tamias, I don't know. There's so many ways they could have made it good. And it's just bad, unfortunately. Is that Ib? Or Galatea? Kind of both. It's like a spirit. What are we versing? P.U.N.K. Just chatting with the stream. Yeah, we had a half-hour chat with the stream. You don't get notifications when I go live, Chris. That's weird. I don't know. I think, do you have the bell hit? That's all I can think of. I tried post it in like Discord. So if you guys aren't in the DM Discord, go jump in the DM Discord. And a errata of the original Eye would have been nice, but we know they're not going to do that. And they've proven that by re-releasing the card many times and also making the monster Timaeus proves they don't want to remake Eye. And fine, don't remake Eye. They made Timaeus monster. But why is it so bad? I don't know. I remember seeing the card and being like, this is the piece that fixes the deck. And then I read it and I'm like, okay, it seems a bit lackluster. Let's test it. We tested it and it was like, this is bad. It makes 2-card combos to make Dragoon and Dragonite, but that means you don't get your Circle or Eternal Soul, so it's like... Plus, it just demands too much of your hand. It's really rough. Konami is greedy. If they just gave us a fusion spell that's like you have to use United Timaeus or I have Timaeus, like I wouldn't care. I'll play them as bricks, it's fine. But until they give us a fusion spell that makes playing those cards like a bit better, yikers. Oh, this card's banned in TCG, I never see it anymore. It's not even like broken, it's just like super consistent for mill decks and whatnot. Dark and light decks. Oh yeah, Anaconda was broken, you're right, but if we had a DM equivalent, a DM Link 2 that did the same just for DM, fantastic. They'd have to make it restrictive and whatnot, but I don't know. That's for Konami to figure out, not me. So this is a monster negate? No, it's just Carter effect. I think LP's less, so it is. It's unaffected by these its card effects. That includes Super Poly, it's big. Pay 1,000 target on monster you control and one of your opponent's control, banish them. Okay, but nothing off turn other than unaffected. Does this do anything well equipped? Oh no, he just sends it for the negate. He just sends a Therian monster card from hand or face up field because it's technically face up field. Okay. Hey, just for Universe, what's going on? We're currently 7-0, but I think we're gonna cop our first L because I have no idea what's happening. Oh, he brings back Chaos Ruler. Overlay? No, it's not overlay. Okay, what does this do? Quick effect on opponent's synchro. So he goes into the dragon with this. Super Poly? No. Okay. Yikes. This is looking bad. So negate. Go into the big dragon. Super Poly maybe would have saved us, but not anymore. Oh, secrets. Oh, this is such a weird hand. So I think it's Upstart Chain Soul Servant. For a start. So let's do that. Shouldn't put this in the imperm column, but there's no monsters, so it's kind of fun. This is a rough one. This over here. I think it's Soul Servant. Oh, I'm sorry, Magician Souls. It's also Chicken Game, I'm pretty sure. Giving him a bit of that LP back, you know, trying to turn this effect off. Terraforming. This hand is looking quite bad, yeah. But you might be able to save it. Maybe. Prage. Prage. Everyone in chat, Prage. Time to set card to put control or face up and pop it. Weird card to pop, but yep. I can't even use secrets. How bad secrets is, like. So weird. It's like, oh cool, we have the DM cards, and then secrets is like, hey man. Maybe I should have done this first. Probably. Oh, this is good. We're baiting in the gate with this, but we don't do anything from here. Like, we can make Relinquish Anima, and he makes the big dragon. He makes the P.U.N.K dragon, and we just die. Oh, okay, that stays on the field. Interesting. We still have one more draw. 2 more draws. I'm gonna try to bait with Magician Soul's effect and draw 2. He's synchroing now? Surely you wait. Doesn't the dragon pop stuff? Maybe I'm forgetting how P.U.N.K dragon works. I think I'm forgetting how P.U.N.K dragon works. Is it a negate or a quick effect pop? I thought it was pop on summon. So he's gonna pop Salvation? I don't care about that. He may have messed up. Or I might be misremembering. Let's go to Synchro Summoned. Oh, so it's on a new chain. Right, that makes sense. Target cards your opponent controls up to the number level 3. Imagine if we had mana here. Psychics with different names you control and in your graveyard. So that's 2, which is perfect number here. I can't Anima. He pops both cards here, unfortunately. If we had mana engrave, that'd be good. That's okay. We just go for a random draw here and see what we get. Oh, he gets to draw a card too, that sucks. It's still one set card. Yeah, this might be our first loss. Oh, it's back to hand. Well, that's better. It's a lot better than, destroy. Yeah, we had a good run. Let's see what we draw here, though. If we draw, like, evenly matched, it's really good. Oh, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Yo, Robert, how you doing, man? We're just getting absolutely clapped here by P.U.N.K. We got Rod now, but I don't think it gets us too far. It gets us circle. He's got a response though. Damn. That sucks. Imagine if we could secrets, but we don't have freaking DM in here. Don't have DM in here. Secrets should be able to fuse without DM or something. I don't know. It's so bad. Secrets and Tomias are both mistakes, in my opinion. They just missed the mark. They just missed the mark. Well, we're gonna play it out like we can still play, but I'm pretty sure we're very dead. You know what? Nothing here really does anything now, so we're gonna give it a go, but very big chance we are dead. You know, it's good to play it out and learn decks and stuff. Yep, I made Artemis. You know how I'll be. Though I'm prepping to put in our first loss. Oh, what does this do? You can target a P.U.N.K, summon it. Well, it's pretty good. Master of Chaos should have been a quick effect. That is very true. Maybe we do this. Oh, I don't play the DarkMagician girl, so the DarkMagicians won't even tag into anything. Oh, I can make Master of Chaos. Why can't Master of Chaos be a quick effect, man? I can block with DM, but I just summoned it in attack mode. Whoopsies. He just has lethal on board anyway. Pretty sure we're very dead. Secrets should let us use it first. That would be busted. Since like DM's fusions are all like with weird shit, right? It's like with a warrior, with Buster Blader, with the new DarkMagician Dragon Knight, not Dragon Knight, the Gaia one is like just a dragon once again. It's like, why don't they just make the DM fusion spell like fuse with the opponent's stuff? Kind of like branded and stuff. I guess it's already been done a lot and whatnot, but could be good. I also hate Tomias Robert, I agree. Psychic and Punisher. What did he target? Targeted Eternal Soul. Yep. Yeah. I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna hit that scoop. That's our first L. So weird, right? We lose to, of all decks, that. We're gonna go back and look at these decks because we were meant to look at them and then I forgot. Wow, this is what we were versing. What the crap? This is so weird. What does this do? This is so weird. Some mad weird stall deck. What about this one? This was the pure danger guy. 1 Ash. Straight up pure danger. He was playing response team, but at 2, and like all the bad danger cards. 6 card extra deck, by the way. My lord. My lord. Alright, let's roll it again. I have faced Tier, but they scooped. We versed it once or twice. Pretty sure we versed it once. It's pretty bad though. Yeah, that deck's probably like anti-tier or something. Anti-pressure, anti-meta. It's funny because then you go DM and lose. Because we're the best deck. Yeah, we need a card that's like a fusion sub thing or something. Fuse from deck, I don't know. We need a lot of things. Oh, that's a really nice card. Ah, Sword Soul. Disgusting. There's no good super poly target for this deck. I've looked it up so many times, guys. There's no good super poly target for Fleur. It's so rough. Yeah, they should have played Danger Kaiju. They should have played Marju Danger. They should have played like any the Danger build that FTK. They could have played that. No, they're playing pure Danger. This is really bad. I'm too super poly. Sorry, I'm tired. I'm done with Baron into my dragon. Yeah, I guess. Well, we have Prep, which does get Illusion of Chaos, which gets souls, but I don't know. We'll see how we go. Not a fan of Banner DM? That's okay. I have DPE DM, I have Pure DM, I have many Dark Magician decks on the channel if you want to check them out, B Money. But yeah, what deck do you play? What kind of DM deck do you play? I don't like branded DM in the TCG, but I do like it in Master Duel because we have Anaconda. That's the main reason. Look at these players, man, they just max C out of nowhere, like it's so stupid. Actual, like, clicking button glue eaters. Brandon DPEDM. Well, someone was playing that. Was it you, Just for Universe? Someone in the chat was saying they play that. And I was like, king. It's a lot of bricks, but king. We're going to try and out the Baron here with Super Poly. It's going to be a bit risk-A. Oh, B-Money, you like the Red Eyes TCG deck? Yeah, I like Dracoon focused decks, but unfortunately, they're just not on Master Duel, huh? So, not really much to do there. Just cry in the club because we don't have Dragoon. Alright, gonna grab Magician Souls. His hand looks so big, it's funny. I don't think we'll need Village, nor 2 Super Poly though, but I'll put the Village back for now. Okay, let's see how we go here. Gonna try summon out the DM. This will probably... Do you reckon he'll flip the trap? I don't know. What's the monster that, if it's sent to the grave, into the opponent's turn? Oh, it's some cat thing. It's like cat... I don't remember its name. It's funny though. I'm not gonna play that though. OCG is more balanced? Yeah, but give us the The trap needs 2 on your field to pop. Oh, exactly 2? Well, that's pretty good for us, though we have 1 monster, and it's Unducky. I think he can pop his own stuff, but not that he'd want to. No, I think you're right. Target one of his. Oh, we're just giving him draws, though. How shit is that? Not that we have a choice. Oh, this is definitely not the right call. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's super polyball. Do we use it to confirm Eternal Soul? No, I don't think we do. I don't think we care. Free draw. Lol. Goodbye, Fleur. Necromain King, that's the one. Nico Main King, sorry. Yeah, interesting card. I used to have a fake one when I was a kid. Okay. Now we'll do this and call Dark, because he still has the trap. Now we can't target our guys. Ghost Ogre. Well, that's gonna put an end to that, huh? Rip. What kind of branded fusion? Oh, I made a link. Freaking Imduck, he had to ruin everything. I was like, cool, we still got branded fusion. No, we do not. Oh man, this guy's got it all, huh? Maxi does it to him, man. I guess we set Super Poly and pass, so see what happens. Because we could potentially survive. I did link. But I had to, I think. That's what sucks about Brain Infusion. We really need our own DM spell. I don't know how they would restrict it though, like how would they make it not splashable when Dragoon exists as well. Oh, pot, that means we don't die. We take half damage for this turn, pretty sure. Yep, you can't draw anymore and we take half. Okay. I mean, he's going to be getting exactly what he needs though. And there's a Moye and a Duster. I might go for the Duster, he might be scared of the back row, which will be funny, because he'll Duster and then not have the damage. No, he wants the Moye, he wants the gas. It's very fair. So, we've only got Starving Venom. I don't think there's ever a time where we can make Starving Venom. We need more Super Poly targets, Super Poly 3. I don't know. It's a bit rough. What are Super Poly suggestions in the chat, fellas? It's not even that good this format, I think. Tearlaments doesn't really care. Maybe we don't play Super Poly at all. It only helped us that one game, that was a dumb game anyway. Might just be evenly matched. Even then, that's not that great. I don't know. I don't know what we play this format. Tell you what we don't play, Power Sing Stone, whatever that crap is. Don't do that. Don't do that, chat. 91 gamers in the chat though, let's go. To anyone who's not a regular LOZA viewer, thank you for being here. We still take half damage. We might survive, I don't know. The 2 effect negates. 2 effect negates. A spell trap negate. There's definitely a water. Yep. And blackout. There's no world where we play out of this. You know what's funny? If we had Dragoon, we win. Obviously, this is a spell trap negate, but Dragoon just wins this matchup so hard. I've shown it off many times, but it's ridiculous how good it is. And he just freaking clicks Max C again. Like, I hate these players getting rewarded for being Muppets. It's very cringe. If these were dragons as well, holy shit, this deck would be dead. Pardon me. Let's do this. I don't know why I'm playing this out. Like it's over. It's very over. He's still got a second one in there though, right? He does. That's cringe. I can make Artemis, man. This gets negated and then it's just game. Wait, what? Wait, what? Fellas, he didn't what? He didn't negate it. He didn't negate it, fellas. Oh, he's still got a monster negate up there. So do we just make this? It's not big enough. It's not big enough. Bruh, he misplayed, but we're still gonna lose. Is Circle winning those games? I think I've only played Circle once. And I don't think I even banished with it. Is it once per turn? It's a hard once per turn. Oh shit, you might be right. Oh crap. Maybe we're fine. Holy crap. There's no way. There's no way. Oh, we're gonna give him draws. Oh, this is so annoying. Nothing we can do about it though. Effect fail! Oh my god! Duh! This guy has had every hand trap under the sun. We've been Ghost Bell, no, not Ghost Bell, Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiled, Maxi twice, ashed, like... I wonder if he can out a 3k booty though. This is the luckiest Sword Soul player I've ever seen. The luckiest and worst Sword Soul player I've ever seen. Oh yeah, he drew into that, yeah. You know what's gonna be funny? Oh no, he can out it. Damn it. Man has the third Mo Yi. Because why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he have the third Mo Yi? Oh yeah, that just pops it back to my hand, doesn't it? Bruh. I should really play a different deck. Oh man, that feels so bad. Well, now that we've got the most viewers, we've got 91 viewers, welcome everyone. We're just copying Fat L's now. 7 wins, 2 losses. We're still positive, but feels extremely bad to lose to someone who just had all the hand traps and just pressed max C instantly. Thinking moving Called By to 3 because Ref Getting Ash feels bad. B Money, you realize Called By is at 1 on the TCG ban list. That's the reason you play 1. You cannot play more than 1. Unless you mean cross out in that case. Yeah, you can play cross out. So weak, your deck. Torfic, that is an interesting comment from someone I've never seen in the chat before. Would you like to elaborate on what's weak about my deck? Maybe you've got a better DarkMagician build for me. I'd love to see a screenshot of your build. This hand's pretty good actually. Really good. Oh, no worries, B Money. I wish I could play more Called By. Ooh, that changes things. Definitely changes things. What do we reckon reversing? Flowunderies. You're not playing Blue Eyes instead. Yo, true. Blue Eyes 2 clapped. Maisie's on it. There goes the hand. Legit. Legit. It's funny how people shotgun Maxi, but they don't shotgun like D shifter, which they should. But I guess that's more because they don't have their settings right. Man. I mean, I guess it's Illusion of Chaos at this point. Brain Fusion works on the D shifter? Yes, it does. Yeah, it does. Wow. So we just make Lubellion, discard, go on a Mirror Jade. Yeah. Alright. That's a very good point. Thank God I got the chat here. I would have just like passed. But no, that's true. Doesn't matter if we banish DM because we're just gonna shuffle it back in. Oh wait, no I'm not. No I'm not. So maybe we just use something else. I'll happily banish one of my souls. Defense mode. Dragonmaid Eternal Soul. Yeah, I don't know if I want to. I'm happier with Mirror Jade. I forgot about the discard part. I can still normal the rod. Do I want to normal the rod? Do I care? I should have normal the rod first, then I could have discarded. Oh, but the discard's getting banished anyway. I have no access to DM now, but I have access to Brain Fusion next turn though, thanks to this. So I think that makes it okay. I think so. I think it's correct to keep the rod. Though I could be wrong. I could just get bored wiped here and cry. Oh no, it's actually gonna grab Soul Servant and just keep it in the hand as a discard. In case. It's not the best discard, well, we're under shifter, but whatever. Hey, that is all good just for Universe. You can peace out, my guy. It's all good. Thanks for tuning into the stream though. You are a legend. D Fissure is now being activated too. Well, that's problematic, isn't it? You're epic regardless. Oh, thanks, man. 7 wins? Yeah, well, we'll try again more. Super Poly's good against Spright. Yeah, we actually cut our Super Poly target for Spright though. Oh, they've seen the one of map. Good player. I can't believe he found... Is map at 1 on Master Duel? I'm pretty sure it is, right? Man found it though. And Maxi's dead. Oh, Super Poly's dead. Maxi's dead. I'm pretty sure we just Mirror Jade the... Is it the Robin or the Egglin? I think it might be the Egglin. I think it's the Egglin. I'm gonna wait. He's going for the Toucan though. But I'm pretty sure we do it now because he can't summon, he can't tribute summon the M-Pen. Oh, we can Super Poly our own board. There's nothing good we can Super Poly. Oh, does this have to send to grave? Oh, it does. Have I faced Havness yet? I don't know who Havness is. Sup Immortal say, you want me to play Pure DM next? I mean, I definitely can give it a shot. Oh, that's bad. That's not good at all. Oh, you're facing Tier Rob? That is an F. That is an F, my guy. Oh, goodbye Super Poly. And hello M-Pen. Yeah, I don't know what we do here. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna lose this one. Yikes. Oh. Oh, fuck you, God. I can't believe I fell for that. Havness dicking me out. I got hit with it. I got hit with the classic. Oh, this doesn't do anything. It only kills... Oh no, it's almost as the controller. Beep beep, it's time to kill your board. I think he has the trap though, right? Yeah, so he can normal one up turn. That sucks. So any monster put to the grave is banished. It's normal rod. Got no DM in rotation. Map says, yeah, normal. Whoops. Holy shit, Joby Jacobs is in the chat. Holy crap. Joby Jacobs is watching. Oh man. This is a wild day. Hate I stumbled across this live. Oh, you know, you stumbled across your favorite guy. You gotta watch the stream. Well, Toucan. I think I'm actually just grabbing Circle. Feels kind of bad though. I don't know the game plan here. Oh, this is so bad. Adds Robin back. Normal's the Robin. Adds Stree back. Hey True, how you doing? Good luck, have fun. Thank you. I think we're losing this one though. Gonna add to the third loss. Big sad. We'll go and edit our pure DM list after this and we'll put in the floodgates and whatnot. Now that Skull Dream's at 1. What up, Double JR? We out here chilling. Beat down any tier elements? We've beaten 1 tier element, but they scooped, so we didn't really win, but hey, we're taking it. Oh man, this deck is just popping off and about to tribute my board. This is a yikes. This is a big yikes. Oh, Mega Monarch too. Nice, nice. Yeah, this guy somehow opened his one map. He has skilled gamer. But oh well. Oh man, Joby's here talking about Power Sync Stone. I think you just play other floodgates. Like, Power Sync Stone is terrible. card is literal dog water, no? Each time a monster's effect's activated, you get a counter max 2, and you have 2 face-up monsters can't use effects. Their effects are negated. Triggering end phase removal counters. So what, every turn they get 1 monster effect. It's still enough for DM to lose, in my opinion. Just play skill drain and like Gozen and Rivalry. It's fine. Housing Secret Village is a lockdown. Okay. Housing Stone is bad. Let's put it that way. He'd be normal in again. Oh, he actually hit. I didn't even chain the Soul Servant, lol. Joby be like, this is why you lose. Man be suggesting Power Sync Stone. Yikers. I'm sorry that a trap from 2002 is why I'm bad. Holy crap, that card is garbage. We don't even have a DM. That's a big issue. It is literally worse skill drain. Like, I think it's just big cope to suggest a card that's worse skill drain. Like, if it was good, it would have been played when skill drain was being played, so it can't be good. That's all I'm saying. Like, this game is just so far gone. But oh well. I'm just gonna skip. I mean, that's a legitimate argument. If Power Sync Stone's so good, why was it never played? Skill Drain's been at 1 in the TCG before. Why was it never played back then? Why is the DM list never played Power Sync Stone? Riddle me that. Unless, you know, you've just broken the meta and, you know, you do things so crazy that no one's ever thought of them before. In a game where literally every combo is figured out for every deck. Alright, let's... Oh god, is it the DM deck I built that was an opponent's deck? Worse skill drain? How? It's quite literally worse skill drain. I'm not going to explain how. If you can't figure that out, that's on you, Chief. What are we going to play? Pure DM. Spright Killer DM. Let's edit this and just not call it that. Pure DM. The virus cards, also garbage. So all the floodgates are at 1. I don't know if I want to play Summon Limit. Pile DM was best deck. I loved Dragoon Pile. Play Cubic? Oh bro, I love Cubic. Don't make Dark Lords that come out and play Cubic. I'll do it. I'll do it. We've got the Fusion Deployment Anaconda combo in hit 2. It's kind of good. Moron, if you have 2 Dark Magicians and activate 2 effects, draw 2 which locks it. Oh yeah, bro, just have 2 Dark Magicians on the field. Joby, explain to me when 2 Dark Magicians are on the field. You've got to be baiting me at this point, I swear to God. Like, you know, just have 2 Dark Magicians out, bro. I don't know what I want here. Maxi, what's the best hand trap to verse tier? Do we have the Bestials yet? Do we not have them? Because that's how you beat tier. We don't have them. Oh wait, button? We do not have them. That's a big problem. Tier cards. This one's at 2. That's the best one. The field spell's at 1. I don't know why the field spell's at 1. Kikalos is here. DM lockout is going to be a thing. Alright. Sure thing, buddy. If DM lockout was going to be a thing, it would have been a thing already. So, yikes. The Bestials aren't even announced? Wow. It's a yikes. Dimension Shifter. Yeah. Dimension Shifter is actually pretty good. But then we turn off our entire deck. So, Yikes. I don't even know if Evenly's the play. It's definitely not Nibiru. There's nothing really good to beat Tear, huh? Master Change with Dark Law? Yeah. Master Change 2 and Dark Law's not bad. Not bad. All the Floodgates at 1, I think that's just how you play them now. Like, Floodgate's good. The way there can only be one. Man. I can't spell. There can only be... Bro, how many cards have this in their text? Goddamn. Or is it... Only one? Oh my god. This is not going well. Trap. Do I not have it crafted? I do not have it crafted. It's a 2. And it's ultra rare. Oh, the other ones are super rares. Ref. I'll make ref. Joby Jacobs. Loza, if you're so smart, how come you never played Black Illusion to protect your DM monsters? Bruh. You gotta be baiting at this point. Holy crap. Black Illusion, by the way. You just won, Robert? King. Absolute king. So I just Unga Bunga hand traps, but what hand traps are even going to be relevant? Kind of down for Effect Veiler. I've got my filter on, don't I? Oh, if we play Effect Veiler, we can at least have an on-theme spellcaster and maybe a way to make Quintet. We play the Magicalized. Magicalized could be good in a format where, like, mill. I mean, if the Magicalized gets milled, not so much, but we don't really have a choice there. Quintet. When we cut for Quintet, we've got a lot of shit in here. I don't think I've ever made Guardian Chimera, and I think if you're making it, you're probably losing. No, let's keep it. No, I'm getting rid of it. LOZA. Power Sync sucks. Also LOZA. You didn't put any text. Nice. Nice. Silent Graveyard? I'm not playing Silent Graveyard. That is a discard 1 to turn off grave effects. Like, I'm gonna play so many games where it's gonna be dead. Or you draw it for turn, going second, you're like, sick. What should I do? What should we play, chat? DD Crow? Like, yeah? If it's an ultra rare, I'll scream though. Oh, it's a super rare. Alright, cool. I'm chilling. Do we go big balls and play 3? Maybe we do. We got a glossy. Let's go. If only he was a spellcast 3 boy. Imperm could be good. I'm kind of down for triple Illusion of Chaos and Allure. Maybe an Apprentice. Nah, if I play Apprentice, I want Xyz. Troll. I don't know if I want to do Droll. We don't have any going second stuff. That's a great point. What's the best going second? Oh, Maxi is kind of that, but not quite. What's the best going second thing? Both our hand traps, I'd like to point out, are not once per turn 2, so we could just max on them. Effect Veiler. We'll try it. We'll try it with them max and see how we go. One of all the floodgates. Don't have an upstart. I could always just go upstart chicken game. Kind of thing. Kind of wing. Yeah. And if we want more, we can always go 2 chicken game, 2 upstart, and cut down on the Veilers and the Crows, but we'll see how they go. Problem is this deck doesn't have a lot to do turn 1. We're just trying to establish Dragon Knight. Oh, we kind of have to play twice in this build, don't we? I think we do have to play it twice in this build. Maybe I'll cut 1 Veiler. I think 1 Veiler could like skill drain, if that makes sense. It's like a better version. We could always cut the upstart, but I like upstart and Soul Servant shenanigans, upstart circle shenanigans. Alright, not a lot of going second, so really need to win the die roll, but let's go for some pure DM goodness. Jump into ranked. That was our third loss also. So I will update that. Oh, no, I don't want to use Brain of DM. Change decks. Pure. Let's go. Pure DM feels real bad though. I'm just gonna put that out there. The good news is we never brick on floodgates anymore because they're all at one. LOZA plays Circle, but not Ash. Akashic Magician, bro. Man's talking about DM staples versus a Link 2 that's garbage now. Okay. We're going second, and we do have Max C. But we'll see how it goes. When's the next stream, Rajon? I do not know. I do not know. Play the Shufflers. 20 graveyard effects turn 1. Yeah, that's true. Looks like we're versing a trap deck. What's my favorite DM build? In the TCG, it's definitely any Dragoon-based build. In Master Duel, it's kind of the branded or DPE-based builds. But here we're playing Pure. Another chicken game instead of Upstart. Yeah, sometimes I like Upstart better, which sounds weird, but yeah. This is kind of weird. We got 6 cards in hand and we don't do anything. Isn't that just the DM special? Okay, Eldlich. Hey Henry, how you doing? Oh shit, I should have max seed. Fuck. Oh man, I could have max seed. I trolled big time. Oh, he'll probably use one of the things later, but I've already lost a draw on it, so I'm crying. Crying in the club right now. What? Why did I set that? That was a big misplay. Alright, where's the pass in here? This is bad. You brick so much with the BDM? Yeah, it's like that. It's like that. A cash deck grabs you any card you want, LOZA. It was made for DM. You players sadden me with your lack of knowledge. Joby, you upvote your own deck profiles, man. Come on, man. Have some respect. Have some self-respect. We all know your builds are absolute garbo. And I'm pretty sure this card isn't good. It was only good when Grinder Golem was a thing. Grinder Golem is not really a thing anymore, so you'd be capping. You'd be capping on main. 2 monsters with the same type except tokens. Great, so you make it with Rod Souls. Now what? You're going to link it once per turn. If you link some return all monsters, this card points to the hand, so probably nothing. Once per turn, you can declare a card name, excavate 12 cards that equal number of link rating monsters. So what, you need to summon 3 cards to then search? You're not doing that in DM. You're not doing that in DM, Joby. You be capping on main for real. Alright, let's go Eternal Soul 1, and he's going to flip something here. Yeah, literally, that link to Akashic, I don't know how to say it, but it's better in literally any deck that's not DM, like, bro. I'm still waiting for Joby to suggest a good card for DM. He suggested D-Shifter, Ash Kick, Power Sink Stone, like, bruh. This probably is waifu, that's very valid. Ooh, he's gonna summon. Let's just get the max C draws here. That way, if he flips any traps, we get some more draws. Could chain the Soul Servant if I want here, because I probably want to go get Rod. Normally you'd want Magician Souls, but we can get Magician Souls. It's not the worst. We probably want to stack Rod though. So I'm gonna do that. I don't know, I think Power Sync sucks. Because it's like, if it was good, we would have played it beforehand, or we would have played it in TCG when Skill Drain was at 1, or when Skill Drain was banned. Like, if Power Sync is legitimately good, it would have been discovered earlier. The card's been around for so long, and I'm pretty sure it's just anime nostalgic bait because of the artwork. And I'm pretty sure it's pretty garbage. But, you know, that's my opinion. I'd love for my mind to be changed. It also suffers from the problem of most DarkMagician cards. Going second, it does nothing. Plus it requires other things to be useful, but that's, you can say that about most cards. But especially DM cards, holy crap. Okay, he only summoned once. A bit of a yikers, but we did get the Illusion of Chaos, which means we can keep grinding this match out. Of course, we draw the crap. That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. We do have a draw 1 down there as well, though. So let's go Illusion of Chaos. Probably should have prepped first in case there's an Ash. But that's okay. I do like the counters that would get popped before it activates. Yeah, like, it's just not great. It's not great. I'll just say that. The floodgates that are at 1 are at 1 for a reason. And the floodgates that are untouched for a reason. Let's just say that. Let's just say that, shall we? There's a reason there's cards that are hit, and there's a reason the cards are not hit. Could get the double draw here, or I can confirm the rod, confirm the circle. I think I want to confirm the circle. I guess I can put the prep away. Normal the rod, see what his response is here. Probably should use Eternal Soul first, because then I can dodge like an Imperm Veiler. Okay, there can only be 1. Interesting. This floodgate is at 2. That is a sign that it's a good card, by the way. Putting that out there. I don't know. I don't know, Richard, but we'll see, I guess, because people will be hyping it up. You don't want to give anyone ideas. People are already making videos on it, so it's not exactly a fresh take. Ah, Imperm Column. There's no way you play Imperm in Eldlich, by the way, though. Ooh, Golden Land Forever. Okay. But he tributes his guy for that. That's kind of nice, because now I can Eternal Soul, Battle Phase Secrets. Oh no, I can't. I'm under there, can only do 1. There's a bit of a dilemma. Power Sing Stone, Robert, you're not missing a lot. It's really shit skill drain. Really bad skill drain. DD Crow, that's actually really big for Eldlich, to be honest. Ironically. I'm gonna have to go into Artemis after this. Can we? No, I don't think we can go into Artemis. Under there can only be 1. No, we cannot. Well, I guess we're just passing. There can only be 1 makes this rough, but it also turns off all of his back row. Kind of like Destined Rivals. Yeah, why are people suggesting Power Sing Stone over Destined Rivals? I would at least be like, Destined Rivals is searchable. But people are straight up suggesting Power Sing Stone. Wild. Wild. It's like when people suggested the virus cards to beat Spright, I was like, okay, like I get it, it's a free win, but then you verse anything else, or you see them without the right DM card and you lose. I don't know. Also in a Dark, what are you playing? DarkMagician. Hey Mohammed, how you doing? Good to see you in the chat. Oh, that's a Golden Lord. Hopefully it tells us which is the one doing it. Yes it does. Beautiful. One of the Golden Lords has been banished from the game. Beautiful. Oh, we have no Cold Buy in this deck. Guys, we gotta go put Cold Buy in. We'll just play all banished stuff. God damn. Oh man, I wish that card was freaking continuous. We should have it. They should have made the DM and the Blue Eyes skill drain cards continuous. Like they're not, and it's a hate crime. What's up, Fern? LOZA Magician. There's 50% of your win con. Yeah, like pretty much. I kind of needed him to out the rod though, so maybe that was dumb. I mean, I can summon Maxi and go into Anaconda. How many spellcasters with different names are engraved? Not enough. Huh. What else can I make? IP. And I can summon DM. I can summon Rod, which can get Circle. And I can link IP and Rod away. Yeah, this could work. This could work. Oh, Wolf in the North. Soul Drain is pretty good. Soul Drain is pretty good. It's Better than a lot of the other cards being suggested. I'll say that. Oh, I can't normal the Rod if I normal the Secret. I think Secrets is dead here. Yeah, it was. That's true, Richard. Soul Drain was getting a lot of attention during tier format. I think it wasn't bad. Maybe I go to battle phase first in case these cards screw you over. Oh, okay. He's gonna do that. Well, I wish I had my Max C that I just summoned, but that's fine. 1800, so we can go into IP or Anaconda here. I don't mind that. I'm not going to play this game. Yeah, Graveyard Hate is already about to be normalized. I've played tier element format in TCG. It was not good. It was not good. We go IP because I think that's actually how we get out here. So I can summon DM, which is not amazing, but it's kind of what I need to do. Maybe I should have grabbed Magician Souls, but I can't summon the this turn anyway. Should have been Illusion of Chaos grab Magician Souls. That was a misplay for sure. That's okay. We can go to battle phase here, do a bit of damage. And maybe... Let me send it either one. Just one. Okay. I think for 800. Take it. Yo, Blap is suggesting a good card. Swords of Concealing Light is like surprisingly good. Obviously with ref, but yeah. Soul Drain, Skill Drain combo, playing pure normal monsters, big. Alright, well we forced him to bring this out, which is kind of cool. Yeah, Graveyard Hate is very, very much a thing. It's like how Yu-Gi-Oh is now. That's why the Banish Zone's becoming like another resource, just Graveyard too. But now so much interacts with Banish as well, that Banish Face Down is now like the actual Banish. And help in like 5 years, maybe Banish Face Down will also be easy to interact with, and they'll have to make something else. Okay. So he's gonna summon a big Golden Lord. It can't be destroyed by card effect. Banish Face Down feels bad. Oh yeah, Banish Face Down is rough. Okay. I think I can get to access code here. It's super scummy and weird though. Let's go IP. Unicorn. Banish to the pocket dimension. Yeah, we're gonna have like remove from the game, like in Pokemon. That's what Banish used to be, but we'll have like proper, like it's out of the game, like Shadow Realm. Alright, shuffle the Golden Lord. Rakeki. It can't be destroyed by card effects. You'll summon off IP. Bruh. Bruh, average Eldlich player. Average Eldlich player. Can we Eternal Soul, please? Yeah, thanks. So we have turned Sanguine on, but whatever. We can go to access code now, which is big. Oh, but he's gonna be able to negate it? I don't know. He's already played 2 Golden Lands forever. There's no way in the world you play more than 2. Like, most Eldlich players from TCG don't even play 1 of the Golden Land forever. There's no way you play more than 2. But we are talking about Master Duel players, so like 3 Golden Lord is normal on Master Duel, which is weird. Like in TCG, if you play 3 people, like what's wrong with you? Okay, well that definitely summons the fellas. Oh yeah, we can do this. That's really good. Hasn't played since the release of Must. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, we do have reading and comprehension problems. We do, man! I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Oh, secrets. Okay. Or did I put that there? I may have put that there last time. Spelling too? Oh yeah. I got we got problems with everything. Where's the dark magic attack right now though, honestly? There's only 1 Golden Land forever. What was I talking about? Sanguine. Okay. Let's activate this first. Banish Grandpa's cards. Rivalry of the Warlords. Oh man, this is getting so rough. And then Sanguine off here. Ooh, god damn it. The floodgates. The floodgates are floodgating. But if I put in Dark Magic Attack, then we're gonna verse decks where it does nothing, and then I'm gonna cry. Tamayas? Do we want Tamayas? I don't think anyone wants Tamayas. But maybe we do. Rivalry is monster type. Oh well. What is good versus tier? DD Crow, which is why we playing it. Always secrets again. Kinda useless still. Exodia will be meta? I hope so. Exodia 2 clapped. God damn it. I can't get through that booty. It's too thick. It's too dummy thick. Oh man. Ugh. The thing is, anything DM can make, like, if we could make Dweller, great, but we just can't. We don't even make it good. Eldlich. Okay, he's setting Spell Trapman. Yeah, I need Circle Banish, but he Golden Lord forever to, and I can't normal Rod under Rivalry, and there can only be one. So it's, I gotta let him kill this. I got a normal Rod, get Circle again. My god, there's so much that needs to go right, and we just set. We could just keep drawing DD Crows. I don't even know at this point. This is a scuffed game. Oh yeah, I keep drawing secrets. That's on me. Okay. Let Rod Effect resolve. Please. Okay. It's resolving. Big. Big. Okay. Circle. Dark Magic Attack would have been nice, like, unironically. Which is pretty funny. Okay, big. I don't know, I guess we can get Village. Okay. I don't know why I'm using this. I should have used this before I used Circle, but that's okay. I don't even know. Tamayas. Because now we can make Dragonite just with the cards in our hand, which is kind of cool. But we can't do anything this turn. We have to cop the fat L once again. The double Floodgate really makes things rough. He's probably got Skill Drain as well. Oh my god. If he was smart, he wouldn't out this Rod, but maybe he's got the back row to make it not matter. Okay, we're gonna banish the Golden Lord here. Surely he has no way to get it back. And if he's a 2 Golden Lord player, he's kind of dead now. Could have ran the Rod into him. Oh, that's true. That's true. I could have ran the Rod in. Loki just forgot. Go to this. No response. Chain Rod. A friend will be nice here? Yeah. Not bad, actually. Not bad. We might be okay. If we banish 2 Golden Lords, there's only 1 left, potentially. Because Masterful players, as I said, always play 3. I don't know why. Alright, he's ending his turn. We can make Dragonite here, which means we just win the game. I think. We're gonna activate secrets in this column, right here. Luke! It's gamer time! Oh, damn. I thought you was a big donating blood gamer. You know, you can't game when you donate blood, you know, you won't be able to think, man. Got no blood left for your head. It's Eldlich Golden Lord Hours, but we've managed to get the DM lock here. Which is super nice. Gonna banish the rivalry so we can have more than just Dragonmaid on the field. Hopefully. Turn 12? Where is the turn counter? Where is the turn counter? Does anyone know? I can't see it. I'm not sure. And finally normal rod. Just got home with a full tom. Damn. It's game time. I have been playing TCG. Robert. TCG be wildin'. TCG be wildin' right now. Alright, maybe we can pop off and win now. There can be only one, or we're like, yeah, that's fine. Above main one on the right. Oh, I'm trolling. Thank you, Mohammed. Turn 12, by the way. Oh, we can't summon DMG? Oh, yeah, we've already got a spellcaster. I'm trolling. I'm trolling on main. We've got DMG in the bin, though, so let's go big drawing. Bing drawing. What do I want? Secrets. No, I can't. I can't secrets. I might want it again, though. Give secrets. It's a long 12 turns. I'm sorry. I'm doing it as quick as I can, but man, this matchup is abysmal. You think 2 secrets can help brick less? Well, the problem is, secrets is only good. Secrets is only good if you have bricks in your hand. And then it's like, it doesn't necessarily fix that hand. But if those bricks aren't vanillas, like if those bricks are spell traps, what do secrets do? A lot of people often say like, oh, secrets helps with bricking, and it's like, not necessarily. I think it adds to the bricks more than it helps. Though there's definitely hands that secrets can fix. But yeah, I don't know. Alright, I have to attack the big golden tiger man with Dragonmaid. And then Rod gonna finally deal some damage. It feels good. Not a lot of damage, but yeah. You can try 2 secrets. I personally have never seen the appeal. Because like with Tamias especially, like 1 Tamias, 1 secrets, it's like you don't need anything else, in my opinion. There have been games where like a second secret would have given me like a win. But I don't think that's enough. Like those you know 0.1% of games where the double secrets would have been nice. I don't think they're worth winning the other percentage of the games where the double secrets bricks you or is useless. If that makes sense. Secrets to help monster. You know what? Secrets should let us fuse with spell traps. Fuse with Navi. Like I have DM, I fuse it with like Navi in hand. That would be insane value. Uh-oh, zombie world. That's not good. That's not good at all. Oh, he's unaffected, so it's fine. Wait, then I don't have a spellcaster out. Does that mean I can attempt to use... Oh no, it's everything in grave as well. Damn it. Secrets needs to fuse from deck. Facts. Play Dark Magic Curtain. Add a blue eyes card to the DM deck. It's funny how Curtain got power crept by Magician Souls. It's just better. You don't pay off your life, you get locked. That's true. Secrets helps monster bricks, Magician Souls helps spell trap bricks. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I always say if you need a second secrets, like you add it back with Soul Servant. That's my logic, anyway. But some people play the 2. I've seen people play 3. They're definitely coping. You're definitely coping there, but that's okay. What can we make? We can make Dark. Just 2 Darks. We're gonna bring Dragonmaid back. This is the 3rd Golden Lord, by the way, so if we banish this, he should just scoop. But if there's like Called by here or something, I'm like stressed. I can't summon DM right now because it's a zombie in the grave. There's 2 of them in the grave. But anything I summon becomes a zombie. Is there a way to remove Rod from the field? Yes, it's by getting I think this is the play. I'm gonna get DMG back. I'm gonna put DMG on top of my deck and tribute her over the Rod. I think this is the play. I've never thought this is the play any other game in my life. Can I summon DM from hand? Well, that's kind of what I'm gonna do. No, I can't summon her. Shit, I thought I'd be able to set her, but I cannot. Why can I secrets though? Maybe I can secrets with her. It still doesn't fix my dilemma though. Screw it. Secrets. Oh shit, that's not a spell. Oh god, I think I just lost. I think I just drew. Crap. I think I just drew. Whoops. Let's find out. These floodgates, man. These floodgates be wildin'. Yup. Fuck. Now Dragonite's a zombie, so I can't summon it back unless the rod gets outed. I need him to out the rod, but if he knows, he might just not do that. I think he's gonna not do that. Yep. Aren't floodgates beautiful? Zombie world is wild. What was the play there? I thought I'd be able to set DMG by getting rid of Rod, but that's not allowed apparently. Why is that not allowed? Because she's a spellcaster, that's a zombie. I'm not sure what. Oh, he's attacking. Why is he attacking? Why did he attack? Why did he attack? Oh, you can't tribute someone except zombies. I forgot about that line. You can't tribute someone except zombies. Who remembers that line of freaking thinger? I guess flu players would remember that line. Thank you, Richard. I completely forgot. And I'm pretty sure we just win. Yeah, why does he wanna... Does he have the negate? Does he have the negate? No. Well, that's the game. All 3 Golden Lords are gone. Okay. He's got 5 back row, though. We getting Mirror Forced, baby? No, I think we're good now. I think we're good. Normal max C. We're gaming. We're gaming. Zombie max C. Very spooky. Spooky cockroach. Okay. He's just gonna summon a bunch of things that are annoying. Yeah, we're unaffected by mirror traps, but it'd be funny. Okay. He really just gave us the out. Why did I summon Max C? I want damage. I want this game to be over. Should have summoned DM from the game. How? Oh, with Eternal Soul. That's a good point. Why do I think I can't summon DM? I don't know why I thought, but I couldn't summon DM. For some reason, I was just like, no, I cannot. But I can. I absolutely can. Oh. Yeah, that was kind of dumb. Could have summoned DM. Banished something. Probably the zombie world. Then be unrestricted. It would have been nice to like banish the floodgates, but you just don't know if they have another one. And I mean zombie world, you know, because it's a field spell. But I think it's just better to get rid of the Golden Lords, because now it's like, what does this man do? And he just extrabbed, so yeah, this is gonna be a rough game, fellas. Wait, he's setting a golden land. Oh god, he's Joby is gonna save this game and watch it every day. Joby's gonna be like, Power Sync Stone would have won you this game 17 turns earlier. I'm gonna be like, you're right, Joby. Yeah, like, we've made it so he can't play, but his cards make it so we can't really play, so... Drawn the one of Magicalized. Big. I'm sorry, Maxi, why did I summon you? That's all phase. I'm just gonna lose this attack, like, every time, I guess. Hopefully he's out of these cards by now. Like, he should be close. God 1,000 knives would have saved the game 18 turns of yo. Facts. 1,000 knives. They should make retrains of cards that identify as 1,000 knives because Eternal Soul Surge is 1,000 knives, right? Let's say add Dark Magic deck with 1,000 knives. They should make a retrain card that identifies as 1,000 knives or Dark Magic deck and just make it good, you know, just make it clapped. How good would that be? Then Eternal Soul could get you like cracked shit. If you were bricked up and you just set Eternal Soul past, you could at least go, well, at least next turn I'm getting the cracked 1,000 knives. That's like, I don't know. Oh no! He has Duster! Anyway. Man hasn't read Dragonmaid, huh? Where does skill drain at? The skill drain being at 1 is saving our life right here. Is this the scoop? Is this the scoop? Please? 10,000 knives. There we go. Richard knows what's good. I summoned the Roach, but Leo, I should have summoned DarkMagician. Whoops. Yeah. You know, Luke's going to be in the chat saying, you know, I could have played 17 Hearthstone games in this time, or at least 5 games of Pokemon TCG Live. Instead, I spent it on one Yu-Gi-Oh game. Oh my god, Richard, don't even get me started on that new rank 8. Floodgate Andy used the Duster. Yo, true. Oh, I was going to get Village, but I don't have a spellcaster myself. Floodgate Andy, LeMayo. Yeah, you could tell he was like, what? He sat there for a while and was just like, what? He said a card, right? Oh, cool. Let's go! DM best deck! And that puts our wins to 8. Pretty good record today. That just took a bit too long, but it's still a good record. How we liking the pure list? What would people change? I think I thought of something in that game and I forgot immediately. What do we think of this pure list? Was there an extra deck card? Maybe it was. I straight up forget. Let's look at the Dark Magic cards anyway. I miss this card. It's so good in Duel Links. It sucks. Pretty bad though. And yeah, this should have been a continuous trap for Blue Eyes and DM to just have skill drain searchable. It still wouldn't even be that good. Oh, called by. Thank you. This is why chat is so freaking good. Called by. I think we should play it, honestly. I don't know if we played it too. We probably do. That means we'll have to stop playing. Yeah, probably one upstart. It's so good in this though sometimes, but I think it's fine. One chicken game and searchable with Terror. Do we just cut a Crow? No, you know what? I think it's one effect fail. I think Crow's too good this format. I'm gonna go triple Crow, 1 Veiler. 3 Hero Lives in Prisma. I used to do that back in the day. Used to play Prisma, and you'd summon a Monk, discard a spell, summon Prisma, mill the DM with Prisma, link into Daigusto Emerald. I don't have one. You'd link into, exit into this, and you'd target a non-effect engraved summon. So you'd summon the DM out, try trigger your circle turn 1 kind of thing, or like turn 2. So it was kind of cool DM combos back then. 1 Dark Magic attack, that would have been cool. Yeah, Aspiring Girl, the DD Crows, they're our tier kind of piss off cards. I don't know, I don't feel good about 1 Veiler. I think if I'm playing 1 Veiler, I may as well not play the Veiler. Oh, Beansalt, there we go. Oh, we've got one. We've got one. How long till we get a prismatic one though, you know? I want more. I need more. Why can we only make 3 at a time? We need Prismatic Bean. Bruh. There it is. We got double Prismatic Bean. Alright. We can piss them all off now. Oh, piss me off another one. Oh, look at this Bean. He's so hot. Yeah, they're gonna be glossy, but still, the hot Bean Soldier. What do we need in this damn deck? I feel like there's not enough oomph. Shadow Imprisoning? Yeah. not amazing. I used to play these cards at a YCS. I played Light Imprisoning to beat Blue Eyes, the format where Blue Eyes was meta relevant. Negate all darks and Field Engrave negates ourselves though, yeah. And it's also going to be dead in some random matchups. It's the struggle with ladder. You really go, like when you go to an event in TCG, you know what's going to be there because you're like, oh, it's Orcust meta. You play to beat Orcust. In this kind of thing, it's like, bro, who knows? I'm going to verse Numeron, I'm going to verse some dude playing Marju, I'm going to verse some monkey who's like just built their Blue Eyes deck. So it's a mixed bag. Do we need Maxi at 3? I mean, it's Maxi, it's kind of busted. Yeah, Soul Drain. What's Soul Drain at? Is it at 3? At least, oh my god. I'll at least look at it. I don't have any. It's a super rare though. It's easy. Paying 1,000. What's that? Banished or in the grave. Cannot activate their effects. Banished or in the grave. Well, turns off Rod. But I think that's okay. Dark Ruler in DM? Yeah, absolutely. It's fine. Droplet's good too, but Droplet a little bit too expensive in my opinion. But Dark Ruler doesn't really help against tier. You could run it though if you wanted to just up people's boards before you DPE. Gozen is useful? Yeah, I'm playing it, man. It's at 1 though, so I can't play anymore. I don't mind Soul Drain. I want to get 3 copies of it anyway, so I've made them now. Soul Drain Dragon, yo, big. Why isn't Joby in the chat anymore, giving us the crazy text, right? Oh, combination with the Anaconda Fusion deployment. You know what? I'm kind of down to try it. It's actually cool. I really like this tech. Oh, get that one combination. This is our other floodgate, really. Skill drains at 1. Yeah, they're all at 1. What do we cut for this? The effect failure. Easy. Okay. Or do we want the 1 effect failure? No, I think the triple maxi, triple crow is the way. Alright, let's try it. So the combo with combination, I'll see if I can show you guys, but I'm pretty sure it's just the Rod Souls combo gets you there and you make Anaconda, which helps you get the other card into the graveyard. Pretty sure. Let's give it a shot. Pure DM, we've even got the combination combo. We do love to see it. Oh, duel. No, I want a duel. Let's go. Let's try pull it off. Oh, yo. I don't know how to say that name. Bibimbap? I think that's how I say it. No worries. Big thank for watching the content. Glad you're enjoying it. I tend to be very negative, so that's actually the complete opposite of what most people say. So I'm glad that I'm helpful. Bibimbap? Is that Bibimbap? Or Bibimbap? I'm gonna guess bi, because you type bi. Oh, I love that. It's like the negate attack spinning. They look so good. Look at the freaking magical hats. Oh god, this deck is using not the DM field. I need to fix it. Oh, it's B. Okay, Bibimbap. Oh god, this hand is terrible, folks. And this is why Tomias is really stinky. He adds to the cards that don't do a lot. Classic Tomias, man. Oh, it's fixed. Oh, it's fixed. It might be. It might be fixed. I don't think I'll hate combination with Anaconda. It's just like, I feel like Anaconda can just do so much more than just, you know, set up a DM trap. But, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I always just feel like it's better doing Brand of Fusion or DP stuff, but hey, I'm giving it a go. I'm out here giving it a go. Illusion Cows go away. Souls, put DM in the bin. Oh, but I can summon Dragon Knight here. Oh my god, you met an Australian on Discord through Pokemon Unite and his grandpa was the army leader of the Australia that lost the war against the emus? Holy shit. Yeah, look, I was on the kangaroo team anyway, so we kind of shafted those emus, not gonna lie. Oh yeah, sorry Blap, yeah, of course. For pure DM, it's probably the best way to use Anaconda. What am I doing? I was like, I'm gonna summon DM, and then I was like, I don't know. The Defiance is kind of dead, but we can make this work. Go for a free draw here. I'm gonna get the salvation draw, but that's okay. That lets us fast forward a step, so the combination is live. The combination is, well, it would be if this was DM. Okay. No, it's fine. So no, well, you summon out DMG to the field, and then we're fine, right? Man, I screwed this up, but it's okay. It still works. Do we have Link Haribo? Oh, we do. Oh, but we can't use Fusion Deployment if I do that. Let's just go Fusion Deployment. Not having Circle here is a bit annoying, but that's the standard DM garbage. Alright, so we summon DMG. Then the oh shit, we get to summon. No! 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 I don't want to summon the DM. Oh, I fucked it. I fucked it, folks. Oh, I can use Tomias. I can use Tomias. I can use Tomias. This is actually good. This is actually so good. Oh my god. This is DM combos. This is DM comboing. Oh no, don't summon, please. This is DM epic comboing time. Put DM in the grave. Or DMG in the grave. Summon Tomias. We can make Dragonmaid now. Oh, it's all coming together. I don't know. I pulled this out of my ass, but it's working. No, we definitely make this. Oh man. Yeah, I made a better combo on accident, straight up. I ain't gonna pretend. I ain't gonna pretend. We just improvise in here, but it's working. I would make this Link Haribo, but we're locked out of linking. We've got Maxine in here too, that's really good. So once per turn when a card effect is activated, tribute a DM or a DMG and special a DMG from Hero Grave with a different name and negate the activated effect. I'm guessing we can just flip it in response to something. I've never actually tried. Oh god, we're versing a meme deck. Ah, we don't even get to test it, guys. This combo also loses to like everything. So wait, we banish it, and then both players add the card. During the end phase, both players get the other person's card. You can have Secrets of DarkMagician. No, you can have Soul Servant, buddy. Clapped. He's gonna give me a nice Christmas gift. A hero lives. I think he's playing just the self OTK deck, but we're gonna find out. I think he might just be grinding ranked for points and stuff. Toggle on for ESOL? Do I need to toggle for ESOL? Because this is DarkMagician. I think I'm gonna negate this, but I should probably wait longer, but I really just want to see how combination actually works. So we tribute for cost, which makes sense, and they scooped. Cool. I'm pretty sure they were memeing anyway. Let's check the list. That does give us 9 victories, though I'm still counting it, even if it was a meme game. Let's check the list. Maybe it wasn't, but there's no way. Yeah, that is a meme. So this is a deck where I don't know what card he would have given me. What would he have given me? Probably Cup of Ace? I don't know. He's just trying to like self-TK. Magic. I don't know. The chicken game prevented you from losing? That's amazing. Alright, I'm just gonna go pee real quick. I'm gonna mute my mic this time. I have returned. We didn't hit 100 viewers this stream. How sad is that? We normally always do. Don't tell me people don't like DarkMagician anymore. Just because it's the best deck. Always play chicken game to prevent self-OT. Now that is hot. That's what you love to see. We're playing first? We are. Okay, okay. Interesting hand. We can at least make a fusion. I'm kind of down to go for Rod here, because if they go to Imperm or Veil of the Rod, we just go Chain Secrets, and they lose the target, and we benefit. Very big. Very big benefit. We have Magic Eyes, but it's probably for a later turn, you know. See how it goes. I think he's got Ash here, which is a bit of an issue, because if he Ashes Rod, we're screwed, but... I'd like to confirm Circle. Just evenly matched a tier player? Amazing. So maybe it's just play evenly? Could be good. He does have the Ash. Well, we keep the card in the hand, unless we wanna... I can Secrets, but then I'll lose it. I don't know if it's gonna be worth it. You go neg 3. Might be better off just playing next turn, you know? DM life is so bad. What can we do? Magicalized. So I'll be passing with nothing. Oh, whatever. Let's try it. We don't have to chain the secrets here at all. Like, it won't affect the Ash resolve, and the Ash will still resolve. And negate the illusion of chaos. So that sucks, but... oh well. Really just got a bit unlucky. And yeah, the deck... Even people are like, I don't want to play ref in my DM deck because it loses to Ash. I was like, bro, everything in DM loses to Ash. Like, anything you want to do will get Ashed. So, I hate that argument. And that's the main argument for people who don't want to play ref in TCG, right? They are coping so hard. Those poor souls. Well, that's okay. But, like, yeah, you got Prep, Illusion of Chaos, Rod, Circle, like, everything's getting ashed. Same with people who would, like, I remember when Anaconda was popular and people would be like, oh, yeah, Prep's bad because, like, it plays into Droll. And I'm like, everything in DM plays into Droll. Like, everything in DM plays into Droll, bro. Let's play Coldplay and pray to draw artifacts. Oh my god. Wait, he normaled this? There's no way you normal this. So he's kind of bricked up. He's kind of bricked up. He had to normal this. I'm going to flip Eternal Soul now and see what we can draw. Summon DM. Just want to see if we draw like a Floodgate. That would be really broken. We could flip it right now and say goodbye to whatever he's trying to do. It's got a response though. Bit scary, but hopefully it's just one of the Spright quick play spells. Summon DM. We need to draw collapsed card. Please. Crap. Alright, well, we're probably dead, Yugs. Add a Spright card from deck to hand. You hate to see it. We can at least DD Crow when he tries to Spright Elf, but I don't think it's that good. We'll find out. Last time I did it, they scooped, but this guy probably has more gas than the last guy. We do have Magical Eyes, which is pretty cool, to be honest. We can get to like a nice quintet number. We've got 1, 2, 3 different spellcasters around, 4 in the hand. Would have to find one more. Maybe if DarkMagician gets popped, that would give us it with the MG, but we'll see. See how this goes. Gigantic Spright Gaming. Okay, so good that we already Eternal Soul, because we would now be locked out of using an Eternal Soul to summon DM. Spright is going to detach material and special level 2 from deck. And it's Swap Frog. That is not epic. Because now he gets to mill a Frogman. And Frog is good. Frog card's good. Banish this. Sorry, this card. Engrave Banish. 1 Frog, 2 Summon. Very annoying. Very good extender. Even without Toad, this deck's crazy. Oh, remember. Oh god, does it trigger? Yes, it does. It does trigger. I don't think we Crow it. Because it doesn't negate it. Unless it's OCG where it does. I forget how that ruling works. But I think we're losing this game, Chief. Looking rough. Needed to hit a floodgate. Yeah, B money, that's an excellent question. I would like Call by the Grave to be at more than 1, but I think they wanted, honestly, this sounds really silly, but I'm pretty sure they put it to 1 because they were about to release Crossout Designator, and they wanted people to buy Crossout, which sounds really dumb, but it's such a Konami thing to do. It's such like a business perspective ban. It's like, well, what's the logic in putting Call by, which was easily affordable, very cheap way to counter hand traps? Putting it to 1. Like, what? It's a 2-1 here, and it's fine. I don't think anyone thinks Call by is busted. And Crossout just is the same thing. Like, Crossout's at 1 on here, and you just play both, right? So we're gonna DD Crow whatever he tries to summon here, which is he's trying to summon back the Swampy. Oh, that's a big problem because he can. Alright, we're just losing. Well, let me just say that. We are just losing. You think Callby should be banned? New card that hits hand traps that isn't OP in other ways. Oh, right, because like you can use it on Golden Ball and like random DM stuff, for example. I don't know how they do that. I guess Crossout's the best way to do that, but then you have to play the hand traps, and they can't be in your hand either, which is strange. I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is such a weird card game when you compare it to literally anything else. Okay, IP with Spright Elf. Gotta have an iron pair to be playing DM this meta. Well, thank you, The Last Gamble. Well, you know, we're just chilling. We're currently, what are we? We're 9-3, which isn't that bad. But we're probably copping a fat L here. Man, this card's so good. Oh man. That's a good draw. That's a really good draw. We can quintet and blow the field up. This is actually really sick. Yeah. Oh, I should have gone for Rod first though. Yeah. Oh, it's fine. I'm not summoning DM this way anyway. Come on, let the souls hit the field. That's fine. This should have made it summon stuff to the zones of points too, though. They really should have put that kind of like restriction on Elf. Elf is stupid. Elf is also banned in TCG. I'm happy for that ban to catch up to Master. I'll be super happy when it does. Elf is... What? Why does this keep happening? I don't know. Like, I'm happy. I'm happy we win, but I don't... Yeah, we were gonna make quintet and do cool stuff. We ranked up from that too. Cool. Elf should only protect level 2s. Agreed. And it should only summon to the zones at points too, as well. The fact that it just summons anywhere and it's quick effect just on either player's turn, like what? So overtuned. You got it, Muhammad. It was the steel balls. He looked at my vanilla DM on the field and he's just like, I gotta scoop it up, mate. Maybe, did he think he misplayed because I sold? I can't think of the thought process as to why. Maybe he summoned back the wrong card and just got tilted. Yo, what's up, Guido? If I'm saying our name right, Guido Hido. We out here chilling. This hand is good. It's got Tomais in it, but the hand is good. You'll never hear me say that. Yeah, that would be valid as well, Aspiring Girl. If it just summoned stuff and negated its effect, that would be absolutely fun. The DM intimidation. The DM intimidation. It's ever since Gambler joined the chat. Gambler's just, you know, calling him out. Calling him out on me. Like, that probably shouldn't count as a win, but I mean, it's a win. So we're at 11-3 now. We're fixing that win-loss ratio. Oh, we got first again? Please, please. They don't want the damn smoke, you know? They see the YouTube in my title, they're like, I don't want to be on camera getting smoked. Elf gets abused in other decks too, so I'm sure they'll hit it. Yo, another banger hand. Oh, I thought that was not Illusion of Chaos, but that's okay. It's not bad, but we're getting shifted by the looks of things. Or Max Seed. Wangman! Wangman! I love this guy's name. Baka Ronaldo. What's going on? Good to see ya. La Province. That's a cool name. I don't want to be on the top tick. Yeah, it's probably some Yugi Boomer. I kind of want to prep just to scout out what he's got. Because he has something. I think it's D-Shifter. It could be Maxi. What? Now he's got nothing. What? Well, I'm confused. I am getting Magician Souls because I've got Rod and Eternal Soul and Gozen. It's not a bad hand. The best thing about the Floodgates being at 1 is you never brick on the... No way! We got trolled! No! I got punished! I was playing around the other hand traps and I get punished by the draw. Oh, that's rough, guys. That's rough. That's rough. Alright. But we can still circle... Oh, no, we can't. Wait. Shit. Why did I circle? What am I doing? What am I doing? Why did I activate circle? I just reordered the top. Oh, there's a souls on top. That's nice. Pardon me. I just trolled just then, though. That was very troll. I don't have to set the soul 7, though. That's good. I can't believe that. If only I had Illusion of Chaos. But I mean, I can't confirm the Eternal Soul anyway. So like, once again, it's the whole like, DM can't play around Droll. And if you do get Drolled, like, yeah. Like, I could have got to the Magician Souls, which meant I could have got to DM a turn earlier, which is good. But it would have meant I still couldn't get the Eternal Soul because I can't. I can chain the Soul 7, but I can't add off Circle, so it's alright. There's not many good tier pilots yet. That's kind of good. Oh god, it's triple set. Are we versing Eldlich again? Oh, I don't know what this is. It could be Marju. It could be Flunder. It could be some Troll Banish kind of deck. Oh, Card of Demise. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't have a way to punish that. Well, enjoy your new hand. I'm gonna guess it's some weird deck. Do Flu play Demise? I don't think they do. I'm not sure. You could get DM and then use Servant to get Rod and get Eternal if you didn't get Trolled. I could have done a lot that turn, Muhammad, but Troll is a card. And yeah, once again, kind of like when I say, like, if you're going to get Ashed on Rev, you're going to get Ashed on DM card. If you're going to get Drolled playing DM on anything, you're going to get Drolled, you know, regardless. Every card in DM searches. Soul Servant draws, Rod searches, Circle searches, Prep and Illusion Chaos all search. Magician Soul sends to draw. Like, you will get Drolled playing this deck, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yo, what up, B-Duel? You be doing? Why do people maxi pot of duality? Oh my god, that's my favorite. That's my favorite guy to hide it when people do shit like that. It's quite amusing. Okay, I'm gonna start... Oh shit, I can't use Magician Souls. Well, let's go Illusion of Chaos. We're gonna go get Rod. Rod Boy. And we'll just put back the Illusion of Chaos we used. And we'll normal the Rod and see what back row awaits us. We're in a bit of a pickle here. We cannot get to DarkMagician. Maybe I should have Illusion of Chaos for DM. But I don't have Eternal Soul. Oh, he's got the Imperm. Turns off the circle as well. This is weird now. This is weird. I guess I should set the Soul Servant. Because I need to hard draw DM. Yep, let's do that. That's all we can do this turn. I would link away the rod, but he's got D fissure, so there's no point linking away rod, and I'm a big rod enjoyer, a big Artemis enjoyer, I should say. Robert, if you make a video public on MD, can you watch it whenever you're free? I mean, yeah, I can watch things. I have been trained. Another set. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. This is a bit spooky. Now we do get to go and confirm that DM. And then hopefully we can rod search again this turn thanks to Illusion of Chaos. You're a big rod enjoyer. Judgment! Have you guys ever seen Soul Servant get judgmented? I'm just stacking my deck, my brother. Holy moly. But, alright. At least we can hit for 1600. Did I not attack him last turn? I think I forgot to attack last turn. I think I forgot. This is a very weird stun deck. Very strange duel. What do you do with your hair? I have similar hair. Can't get it to stay like that. I go to bed. I blow dry it, and then I go to bed, and then it's just up in the morning. It's just like... It doesn't look as good as this IRL. I can tell you that. It looks better on stream than it does IRL. I'll tell you that for free. But hey, that's alright. So I think I just add rod, and I just keep chipping away. Could even add Tamias. Chip some more. I don't know. L'Oreal, because I'm worth it. You know it. Just made it public, but I have no idea how to make people watch. I think if I search your profile, I can look for it. So I'll look for it after this. Just remind me, because I'll definitely forget. Does he have another imperm or like judgment or whatever? Oh, it's true Draco. So silly. Oh, he's seen the one-off skill drain. Oh, but that gives us game. Wait, he just killed himself. Why no swing? I think I forgot. I think I forgot last turn to swing. But he just killed himself. Let's go. I work so much, I've never been in chat. Stoked to be. I love the channel. Oh, hey Nicholas. Nice to see you here. I'm glad you watched the content. You're a king. You're just here in time to see us beat True Draco. And that will put us onto a beautiful 12 wins. We are versing all sorts of weird decks today. Love to see it. Love to see it. I did forget to swing that turn earlier though. Bit of a yikes. Bit of a yikes. Let's check that list, but I'm gonna guess he was just bricked up. Oh my lord. Yeah. Yep. Floodgates. Floodgates. When people who play only traps activate stuff without reading. Literally him activating Judgment on Soul Servant. It's like, my brother, you paid 4k to negate a card that stacks my deck. To be fair, if I got that resolved, I probably would have killed him earlier, so. Insane. Imagine Judgment Servant. Legit, it's like when people ghost Bell Servant, and I was like, okay. I mean, sometimes it's good, but it never feels worth it. Well, this hand is kind of ass, but that's a very, very good hand trap to have. Just gotta, do I wait? They can extend from the hand here for free. I should have fucking changed it. I should have just slapped it down. I've been punished. I've been punished for not playing like a monkey. Oh man, this is so bad. Oh well. Alright. I should have done the maxi way earlier, but that's okay. We are going to do the maxi now, however, so we missed some draws, but that's okay. This at least makes him commit to the plays, I guess. Oh, he's got the call by anyway. Wasn't that great? In that case, why don't we just DD Crow? No, that doesn't negate. No, that's fine. We'll wait for him to target and bring it back. Oh shit, Robert, I forgot. Ah, I'm so sorry. See, goldfish memory. I just queued up again. After this one. Oh, Muhammad, that's a good one. When people waste interruptions on salvation, hilarious. I remember IRL, some guy was like, can I read Salvation? I'm like, yeah, man. And he sat there reading it for like a minute. And then he proceeded to like activate the Sky Striker card that like pops the spell trap. He popped it and I was just like, bruh. Like, what? Jessica is next to you, Luke? Oh my goodness. Oh shit, I was meant to DD Crow just then. That was the DD Crow time. If you Crow your Maxi, does it still resolve? I think this has to do the opponents. It does have to do the opponents. Set 1. I was meant to stop the Cherubini from coming back, but that's okay. Oh, maybe I Crow now. Crow now and stop him from getting a Phantom Knight card from deck to hand. How does this trigger again? While scouting the graveyard, you can special summon this card by banishing and leave the field. Wait, if another Phantom Knight is banished. Okay, so this is the combo. So if I get rid of Cloak here... Oh shit, no, he still has Boots. Banish a card. This is bad. So maybe I just get rid of the Torn Scales. If a Phantom Knight is banished while it's scouting the graveyard, you can special summon this card by banishing and leave the field. I'm just going to DD Crow now. Oh, no, that's probably wrong. Maybe. Maybe not. They read the word special, so I'll be like, nah, get out of here. Yeah, legit. They see Salvation, and they're like, too much text. I kill, I negate. And you're like, okay. Stain Greaves. So that comes out if you just have a... I think you just have a Phantom Knight, you can summon it. Which is pretty typical. So we've got 2 Fog Blade to play into. Double Fog Blade. Oh, sorry, no. He used Shade Bringer. So 1 Fog Blade. BA is Dante Pass. This is true, but like, look at my hand. Bit of a yikes. Oh, this is Abyss Dweller or Baguska. Skill Drain kind of helps us out a lot here, actually. Yu-Gi-Oh plays be negating just so they don't have to read. For real, for real. Salvation West Field Spell in the best deck. Nicholas spitting facts. Oh shit, Anaconda, yeah. That's bad. DPE time. Oh no. Oh, imagine if we had Maxi and all these doors. Yeah, legit, Mohammed. We just use Salvation because, like, we kind of have to because of Tamias and, like, we can get extra doors with it. Magician Souls, but man, it's bad. So he didn't even make Dante, he just made DPE. Wow, we just spoke about Tamias and here he is. Here he be. We can make Dragon Knight with this and get Eternal Soul, but there is a pop on the field, and we want the skill drain to stay up. There's also a Fog Blade set, and potentially another one. Bait DPE and skill drain. Yeah, skill drain does help us out a lot here. Though the DPE will keep coming back even under skill drain and give us a lot of grief, so... I'm going to go with the Terraforming off the bat. What do you got to say about that, Chief? We just spoke about how people like see Salvation, read it, it's too much text, so they just pop it. Let's see if it happens. I think we can win it too. I think it's winnable. Yeah, he can Fog Blade the Tamias effect, so we're not going to use it. It worked. You guys were right. Too much text. Too much text. We no read. We just pop. No read. Only pop. Alright, that's big. Oh yeah, we will leave it on the field, but we had to bait it first. But we'll leave the DPE out after this. I don't have a way to summon Tamias actually, huh? But it's my biggest body. My biggest body. Nah, there's no way. There's no way. We keep the Tamias in hand and we just summon DM. Big boy. Big boy DM, let's go. Summon the big boy. I'm pretty sure Rusty can come back by itself, right? DM, why you gotta have a summoning enemy? He can't Fogblade this. I'm pretty sure he can't Fogblade DM. Also. Screw Anaconda. All my homies hate Anaconda. Jokes, I love Anaconda. Wait, you can Fogblade it? Targeting effect monster on the field. He didn't read effect monster on the field. He didn't read his own card. Now he has to... Oh wait, and then I can't attack it. Oh, he's big brain. Wait, I still do. Oh, but now he gets the Fogblade in the grave. He's actually big brain. This comes back, right? Somehow. Oh, you just bring it back with Fogblade normally. Set, skill drain, pass. We're gaming. We are gaming right now. He ain't reading that. The Salvation play worked as well. This is such a classic Yu-Gi-Oh moment, huh? He brought back Stained Grave? Surely... Oh, is that the only target? That's the only target. I was gonna say, surely there's a better target. You normally save it and bring back Rusty, no? So you can link climb. Or am I capping? Oh, there's the Foxy Tune coming down too. Dash's effect, gonna summon out the Foxy Tune, that's okay. They forget vanillas exist? True. Reach Pendulum card? I'll allow it. Wow, Pendulum got too much text for real. This card destroys opponent's monster by battle. You can gain LP, blah blah blah. Tribute to P.U.N.K, special this card from hand. Okay, send this card from hand or field to grave. Send one card from your hand to the grave and special a P.U.N.K. Send this card from... that will still activate on the skill drain, right? I think it will. That's okay. It is the draw phase. I kind of just want him to make access code and then I flip skill drain, you know? That's kind of what I'm going for here. But I mean, he's got DP, so maybe this would be a problem. I think I should have flipped the skill drain earlier. I'm kind of waiting for him to just use DPE. I kind of have to wait. I think I messed up. I think I should have flipped this card. Oh boy. Yes, he did it. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. He actually did it. The Muppet. He could have just gone to the battle phase and won the damn game. Because I would go skill drain and he would just chain DP. Oh, I guess it's not enough damage, so you know, he could have just, I don't know, done other things. Oh wait, we still lose. He just crashes. Crap. God damn it, DM. Why are you not stronger? Maybe we should have summoned Tomias. Maybe it should have been Tomias after all. Or is he playing the Link 2 that's really big? Nope. Well, that's not how that's gonna work. No, you were right. He was going to pop, but he shouldn't have. He should have held it for when I flipped it, and then he could have chained it, but... Oh well. We still potentially die. I'm pretty sure we lose still. Should have summoned Tomias, huh? Should have summoned Tomias. He doesn't have lethal, but we don't have anything. Like, we have nothing. We need a Red Eyes Fusion off the top, and that card is not in the game. Oh yeah, he makes Zeus. I mean, it's on the skill drain, but it's still a 3k booty that we can't out. Yikes. What top deck gets us out? Nothing, because he switches this to attack mode. Yikes. Yikes. Man, we were so close. We were so close to being fine. But just not quite. Not quite. Summon Tomias. It doesn't matter. Yeah, sometimes YouTube just gets rid of things. YouTube's great like that. Oh well, we'll summon the Tomias to flex. You know, Tomias kind of broken. Probably should have summoned it first, but then he would have made Zeus anyway, but we have a lot of LP, but... Oh well. Imagine if Eternal Soul had a grave effect too, that'd be nice. Would be quite poggers. Any Fog Blades in grave? None. I don't know, I'll just hit this. Or am I trolling? Is that what I'm not remembering about Rusty? Can't out it anymore. I thought you wouldn't be able to Fog Blade because they're already negated by Skill Drain. Oh, you can bring Rusty back this way as well. Why can't I overlay my Tomias into Zeus? Honestly. Make Tomias playable, Konami. Let me overlay it into Zeus. It's fine. We just lose anyway, unfortunately, because Zeus is a freaking card. Yeah. We can't out the thick body. Wow, Rusty Body's all looks sick. I've never seen it like that. Yeah, Tomias could have been 3k. That would have been nice too. But oh well. Of course the DM dragon has to be crap. I remember when I always bagged Tomice out for being a bad card, which I think we can all agree it's not great. Like, I'm not saying it to hurt people's feelings, I'm saying it to be realistic, the card's bad. But some people literally in their defense are like, it's 2,800 attack. And I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't realize this was season 1 of the anime. Like, attack stats do not matter on fusion cards, but okay. Like, look at Alistair the Invoker. Fucking correct card, 1,000 attack. Alright, I'm gonna watch your video. Man. Robert, send me your name on this thing so we can watch your replay that you want us to watch. I think in my last video I said stats don't matter. Stats, like, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, do stats matter? Like, you're just gonna make access code anyway, or like, any link 4, pop the field, swing. Yeah, like, Tomice having 2,800 attack, like, what? Why would that ever be relevant? I remember I've sat behind it with floodgates up and it's 2,800 attack. I'm still like, this doesn't validate the 2,800 attack. It's just my best play of this game with this hand in this scenario. Tomice could have 0 attack, right? Like, Magician Souls has 0 attack and it's a great card. Tomice has 2,800 attack and it's a crap card. Like, imagine defending a card because of its stats. Like, there's the argument, if Konami made a 4-star vanilla with 3k attack, would you play it? And everyone's like, no. It's like, exactly, like, bruh. Yeah, Robert, what's your name on Thingamajig? I can't remember how you look at people in this game. Maybe friend? We friended? Oh, there you are. You are friend? You are friend. Profile. I'm gonna unfollow you. I'm kidding. Replay. So the most recent one? Oh, here it is. Let's go. Alright, we're watching this replay and then we're probably going. Oh, I'll update the win-loss to be accurate. So we did get 4 losses at the end there with 12 wins, but that was pretty good. Alright, Robert, let's see what you got. Oh my lord, what are you doing? Danger DarkMagician. Danger DarkMagician against Tier. Alright, let's see it. Isn't that disgusting? Their field spell actually adds a card to their hand. And it's like circle as well. Oh, it buffs them all by 500. And then, if a tier element you control in your graveyard is shuffled into the decoration deck, target a card on the field, destroy it. It's like circle, illusion of chaos, and I don't know, just an attack boost all in one. And meanwhile, people will be like, Salvation's a good card. A level 4 with 4k attack, yeah, well, we'd be playing that. No, legit, like stats in Yu-Gi-Oh are so fucking wild, like, they just don't matter. Oh, what's up, CR Fractures? I'm glad you're here. We're just watching some DM gameplay by one of the people in the chat. Oh yes, King of the Swamp shenanigans already as well. My god, they have Winder out, but I guess you have Slumber, so you're kind of fine. Kit Kalos, the big one, oh no, the level 4 and Winder. I don't think they finished on an optimal board, but that's okay. Still good, evenly, right, evenly good. That's the Winder. Nice. Salvation gets Soul. Wait, this is your one summon. Oh, because you just swing into it. No? What? Oh, can't be destroyed by... No, it can't be destroyed by card effects. Why didn't you hit it? Am I missing something? Why you no hit Winder? I'm not sure why you didn't hit Winder. Did I miss something, chat? Oh, I'm so stupid to use Evelyn. I guess you still could have slumbered though. No? I guess it's not exactly worth it though. I'm very silly, thank you chat. I always use evenly, then I'm like, where battle phase? I do not like Power Sync Stone. Got any grapes? I do not like it. Joby came in here and was talking about it earlier. I can't believe Joby joined the live stream, that's crazy. But Yeah, no, I don't like it. Not a fan. I think you just play the floodgates that are good, and just play other cards. I'm playing like DD Crow, Maxi, and that's it really. I tried out combination as well, but then we can't just auto-won the game. We got like a fallback. Combination is okay, it's just another DM card that requires a lot of setup, unfortunately. And people are like, oh, but play the bonds package, it makes combination easier. And it's like, okay, now we're playing like so many DM cards that don't function without other cards, or like, you know. Oh, DM's such a weird deck. I hate the tier cards, they're all so good. Oh, Circle Gaming. Big, the DM man's here, and you got Secrets in here. He's big. And the DMG coming out too, big. Salik. Nice, not even a word. Incredible. Who needs Slumber, I guess, huh? This is a game, right? Got secrets. Big secrets in the battle phase. Beautiful. Beautiful. You love to see it. Tearlaments getting clapped by DM. Sensational work. Oh. Oh, he's capping hard. Why did he do that? Bruh. You were in gold this afternoon with the cancer? Yeah. That was a good duel. Thank you for sharing, Robert. We love seeing Tier losing to DM, huh? DM is truly the best deck based on this one video. One last shuffle before I die, bro. People grief. People are gonna hold you hostage if they can. Well, yeah, Winder does that, I guess. Leaving Winder out's fine. Anyways, I'm gonna end the stream here, but thank you for joining. It was very fun. We still went 12-4, which is obviously very good. And next time we'll be approaching Platinum, so we'll probably get harder games, better players, more tier. And we'll decipher what we want to do to beat tier. I think the DD Crows are nice, but we're probably going to need more than that. And the 2 called by are very good, obviously. But we'll see how we go then. Thanks for joining, everyone, though. I'm going to head. Oh, I'm sorry I got grapes. You just got here. But I'll stream again soon, and I do have a bunch of live streams already up on the channel too. If you like the live streams more than the videos, feel free to check them out. But I also have all the videos. I'll be uploading once a week roughly as well, so stick around and check those out. And I have been LOZA, and DM is truly the best deck, and I'll catch you all soon. Peace.